Today, I've got over 3 hours of some of the most insane Reddit stories I've ever read, and we're going to be rating them on a scale from 1 to 10 on just how insane they are. So if you guys want to leave comments down below giving your own ratings on the stories, I feel like that'd be fun. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into the first one. The first post today is from r/2 hot takes from user throwaway7192022. Hi everyone, I've been a listener and lurker here for a while, and I thought I'd ask for advice because I remember seeing a similar post before. I really don't know what to do. Over the past school year, I became close with a girl named Rory, 20 female. We had been friendly before, but didn't know each other very well until recently. At one point, I found out she had a boyfriend, Logan, 20 male, who actually went to the same high school I did. Since a few people from my old high school also go to my college now, I didn't think much of it. Just one of those small world moments. This past semester, Rory and I got even closer because we're both involved in student government and the student paper. We spend a lot of time together outside of activities too, and I started including her in hangouts with my closer friend group. During one of those hangouts, I met Logan for the first time. Ever since then, I keep running into him in places I normally go to, and even places I've mentioned planning to go. Normally, I'd brush it off as coincidence, but my college city is huge. I don't even randomly run into my closest friends unless we plan it. It keeps happening at my usual cafe where I study, places I've mentioned running errands, and other random spots. It started to genuinely scare me how often I see him. I get anxious going out because I'm worried I'll run into him again. Whenever we do talk, he's polite enough, but something feels off. I always leave the interaction feeling uneasy, like I'm being watched or scrutinized. I haven't really told anyone because even typing this out makes me feel weird and paranoid. I've thought about talking to Rory about it because maybe she'd know why he keeps showing up everywhere, but I don't know how to bring it up without sounding dramatic or accusatory. I'm also worried about damaging our friendship or coming across like I'm trying to cause problems in their relationship. Does this sound concerning, or am I overthinking things? And if I should talk to Rory, how would you even approach that conversation? Any advice would really help. Yeah, this is a tough one. I feel like it's easy to overthink it either way, because, on one side, you don't want to stalk her, because why would you want to stalk her? On the other end, it's like, I don't want to mess up my relationship. I don't want to cause tension, but I don't know. Let's read the update. Hi, everyone. First off, I really want to thank everyone who gave advice on my last post, especially the people who checked in afterward to make sure I was okay. I honestly wasn't expecting such a warm response, and it genuinely helped me get through this week. Before I get into the update, I want to clear up a few things people asked about. I had my car checked at 3 different shops, and they all confirmed there were no trackers. I also had a friend with experience dealing with a stalker ex help sweep my car, apartment, clothes, and belongings for bugs or trackers, and everything came back clean. Some people asked what Logan and I usually talk about when we run into each other. Honestly, nothing particularly strange on the surface. He usually approaches me, asks how I'm doing, what I'm doing there, or sometimes asks about Rory or what we've been up to. Sometimes he asks more personal, getting to know you type questions. Normally, that wouldn't bother me. It's the fact that he keeps showing up in places I frequent that make it unsettling. So, on to the update. I decided to follow some commenters' advice and change up my routine. But honestly, I also wanted to figure out how he kept finding me. So, I tried something similar to those police tactics where different people get different information to see who leaks it. I told Rory that I'd be studying at a cafe near campus after a Wednesday meeting. At that point, I had mostly ruled out my other friends, so I wanted to test whether the information was somehow getting through Rory. Instead of actually going, I stayed across the street with a friend at a bodega where we could watch the cafe. About an hour after the time I had told Rory I'd be there, Logan walked into the cafe and looked around. That pretty much confirmed it for me that he was getting the information about my whereabouts through Rory. After that, I honestly felt sick. I stayed inside all Thursday because I was overwhelmed and didn't know what to do next. Today, I finally worked up the courage to talk to Rory. I genuinely hoped she was unknowingly feeding him information and didn't realize how uncomfortable it was making me. We met in a mutual friend's dorm room. The mutual friend was there too because they already knew about the situation. At first, the conversation went okay. Eventually, I mentioned that I'd been running into Logan constantly over the past month and that it was starting to feel weird. But the moment I pushed on how frequent it was, Rory suddenly asked if I was accusing her boyfriend of being gay. Oh my gosh. That completely caught me off guard. For context, I am openly gay, but I genuinely wasn't trying to imply anything about Logan's sexuality. I tried to backtrack and explain that I was only uncomfortable because he kept appearing everywhere I went. I brought up the cafe situation and asked whether Logan had asked where I'd be. She admitted that he had asked, but framed it as him being a concerned boyfriend who wanted to know where his girlfriend was and who she was hanging out with, not stalking. I tried explaining that, regardless of intent, it still felt invasive and unsettling from my perspective. But after that, she got angry and accused me, again, of implying her boyfriend was secretly interested in me. At that point, the conversation got heated and messy enough that our mutual friend stepped in and ended it before things escalated further. Rory left shortly after. Afterward, I asked both that friend and several close friends whether I was overreacting. They all reassured me that my concerns were valid and that men can absolutely experience stalking or invasive behavior too. They also pointed out that I'm very openly gay, so it would be strange for Logan to see me as some kind of romantic threat to the relationship in the first place. Now, I'm back at my apartment replaying the whole thing in my head and wondering if I interpreted everything wrong. Is this just a jealous boyfriend keeping tabs on someone his girlfriend spends time with, or is this genuinely concerning behavior? I feel like I'm losing my grip on what's reasonable at this point, even though the people close to me have been supportive. I'd really appreciate any advice on what to do moving forward. Edit. Thank you all again for the advice and support. It truly means a lot. Unfortunately, I can't fully cut ties with Rory because we still have work together in student government and the student paper until the semester ends in mid-April. Thankfully, I do have other friends in both organizations, and I'll definitely be leaning on them and making sure I'm not alone whenever possible until the semester is over. Nah, man, that's definitely creepy. So we thinking that he's a jealous stalker boyfriend? We thinking that he thinks the OP might be a baddie? Like, what are we thinking? Anyways, here's the final update. Hello, everyone. I don't want to make this update too long because I honestly don't want to relive everything that happened over the past month. I'll try to keep it concise, and if anyone has questions, I'll answer what I can. Long story short, Logan was taken into police custody, and I was successfully granted restraining orders against both him and Rory. After our confrontation, Rory started bringing Logan everywhere with her, which honestly only made things worse for them. Rumors about what happened between us had already spread. Dorm walls are not soundproof, and whenever Rory wasn't paying attention, Logan would just stare at me constantly. It was deeply unsettling. Eventually, many of our mutual friends stopped associating with Rory because Logan would insert himself into gatherings and, completely unprompted, start ranting about how terrible I supposedly was. He spread lies about me and would go on angry speeches about femboids ruining the image of men. This went on for about 2 or 3 weeks during finals and project season before things quieted down as graduation approached. The situation escalated during what was supposed to be a celebratory dinner. I invited some close friends and classmates out because several of us were receiving awards before graduation. We had reserved one of those private dining rooms in a restaurant. Somehow, Rory and Logan found out about it and showed up uninvited. I made it clear they were not welcome, and a few of my friends tried to get them to leave. Rory kept insisting on staying, while Logan stayed silent through most of the argument. Things got heated enough that restaurant staff came over to intervene. Then, suddenly, Logan snapped. He shoved Rory and one of my friends out of the way, rushed toward me, and pushed me to the ground. I hit both the chair and the table on the way down and was honestly too dazed from the pain to fully process what was happening. From what my friends later told me, Logan seemed intent on getting on top of me, likely to continue attacking me. Thankfully, my friends restrained him before he could do anything worse, though he kept trying to break free even while security arrived. Rory looked completely shocked once everything happened. Afterward, one of my friends suggested I obtain the restaurant's CCTV footage and use it to pursue a restraining order, which I did the next day. A few days later, the police contacted me for an interview. I explained everything that had happened over the previous months, including my concerns that they had somehow been tracking me. The officer I spoke with took me incredibly seriously, and I'm genuinely grateful for how compassionate and professional she and her team were throughout the process. Because there was clear evidence of assault and probable cause for stalking, they were able to obtain warrants for both Logan's and Rory's devices. A few days later, I returned to the station with my younger brother while my family was in town for graduation. That's when they told me what they had found. Both of their devices contained numerous photos and videos of me. On top of that, there were text messages discussing plans to find my apartment and do something once they did. Because of the evidence, I've decided to press charges. On a brighter note, I did graduate with Latin honors and received several awards for my involvement in activities throughout college. I'm proud of myself for making it through all of this and still finishing strong. Right now, I'm safely back home with family, and I plan to spend the next month resting and isolating a bit before trying to return to normal life again. That's all from me. Jeez, what a way to spend your last semester in college. I think what we can all learn from this story is that some people are legit insane, and you gotta be careful who you surround yourself with. On the insanity scale for this one, I'm gonna give it a solid 8 out of 10 because, come on, stalker. The next one today is from r/mytheasshole from user Leo the Lion. Am I the asshole if I back out of being maid of honor at my best friend's wedding next weekend? Best man is my ex-fiance who cheated on me, and I can't be around him, let alone walk arm in arm with him. Jeez, that is the longest title I've ever seen. Jump into the worst week of my life. I was with my ex-fiance for 6 years. Loved him with every fiber of my being. Wedding planned for August. Refused a job offer so I could move with him for his next Air Force assignment. Monday, a call girl from a website called Massage Republic texts him in the middle of the night, saying she's reaching out to old clients because she's back in the game. His phone was at my house while he was flying. I text back she must have the wrong number. She says she doesn't. In a moment of brains, I pretend to be him instead of the jealous girlfriend, and call girl gives me all the details. I'm such a fool. This had been happening under my nose for years. I confront him. He claims to be an S addict and promises to change. I consider it for half a second and say no. Cue uncontrollable crying, self-doubt, a battery of STD tests, awkward encounters with him, fight over the ring, his mom, who I loved, calling me nonstop and begging me to reconsider, and on and on. And on top of all of this, my best friend is marrying his best friend, May 11th. The groom doesn't want to rock the boat at this late date and selecting a new best man. The bride says she has way too much on her plate and is begging me to just go through with it, and she'll make it up to me. I've never hated a human being as much as I hate him. I can't be in the same room with him, let alone walk arm in arm with him. I understand the whole wedding doesn't need to fall apart because I'm upset. So I just want to not go and spend the day downing the leftover Percocets from my wisdom teeth operation and hanging out with as many Tinder dudes who can stand to be around me after not showering and burning all his shit. Would I be the asshole if I back out of the wedding? Edit. Wow, I checked out for a few hours to try and sleep and this exploded. I'm so sorry I haven't been reading. I'll try to catch up. Edit 2. Okay guys, I don't know what the verdict is, but whether or not you voted yes the asshole or not the asshole, and said I should go anyways to support my friend, we were friends before we were born, our moms were college roommates, your argument were the most convincing. I'm gonna suck it up, participate, have fun, and when this is all over, I'm gonna scream myself hoarse and beat the ever-living shit out of my pillows. If I can update a week from now, I will. I still have a lot of reading to do, so thank you all for commenting. Honestly, guys, I don't know if I would have gone to this wedding. Yeah, this guy sounds pretty terrible. Anyways, here's the next update. Verdict, not the asshole. Edit 3, that won't be seen. Guys, I've had the worst week of my life and been crying almost nonstop since 3 a.m. last Monday, or Tuesday, or whatever. I have to clear up people calling my best friend the asshole. That just isn't the case at all. I love her as much as I love any person on the planet, and she has my back. But this wedding is now a week away. It's not a simple thing of kicked me out or asking ex-fiance not to come. Everyone is furious with him, but only she, me, and he know the details of call girls. My ex's parents, grandparents, and everyone else are going to be at the wedding. He's as close with the groom as I am with her. If they make big changes now, then the day becomes about what he did, not about the wedding. That's honestly facts. If not my place to demand the groom change his best man, a week out no less. Plus, like I said, he knows my ex cheated. He doesn't know my ex was sleeping with a call girl. If I bring that up, then this whole week becomes about that. My best friend and her groom being assholes isn't even an option on the table. They didn't do anything wrong and just reacting with the best information they have. My friend has offered me the chance to allow me and ex-fiance to walk in with other people or even separately, but I'm not going to do that. First of all, because I think it'll look weird. And secondly, I foresee getting a sick sense of satisfaction of touching him one last time, forever, and have him know that that spark he feels could have been forever come August, but he messed it up. And here's the next update 2 days later. So this is almost an indescribable situation because if you would have asked me last Sunday, I would have told you I had a perfect relationship. Monday night he was flying. He's a pilot in the Air Force and had left his phone at my house. In the middle of the night it buzzed and it was a call girl named Panama who had quit for a while and was reaching out to old clients because she needed money. I logged into his phone, we share passwords on almost everything, and at first told her she had a wrong number, but far too much of what she said was identifiable to him. I confronted him when he got home, and he didn't try to deny it at all. He confessed that he had seen 2 separate call girls for about a year, sometimes at the same time. He claims he's an addict and has been in treatment for about a year. I knew he was in counseling, but I thought it was for grief of a friend of his dying overseas. He promises me that he hasn't seen either of the girls for 18 months, and that's the only time he ever cheated in the 6 years we've been together. Last week, I was livid. Like, I couldn't stand to be around him, lest I might do things I would regret. Last night, in a moment of weakness, I called him, because I just wanted to hear from him one more time as to why he did it. Why he needed call girls. I was so open to trying anything, just why? And the truth is, I miss him so much. It's killing me, so a part of me just wanted to hear his voice and know that he's alive in this world. We ended up having the friendliest conversation over the course of about 4 hours since I found out. And the reality is, I still love him. I love everything about him, except the hooking up with call girls part. He's broken over this. He's taken himself off the flying schedule in the middle of his instructor upgrade, which may very well be a career staller, and he's doubled up on his counseling sessions. He hasn't lied to me. He hasn't yelled at me. He hasn't blamed me for anything. I guess if there's a right way for a cheater to act, he's doing it. All of this is complicated because we're scheduled to be maid of honor and best man in our respective best friend's wedding this coming Saturday. Both of us agree that we don't want our drama to come in the way of their good day, so while we aren't going together, we're going to put our happy faces on for the 4 minutes we have to be around each other. But I'm worried I'm going to break when I see him. Tall, glorious, and handsome in his tux. I'm so devastated, I don't know what to do. I miss him more than I miss any person, but I also hate him more than I hate any person. What in the hell should I do? Can a cheater ever change? This is getting juicy. I like this story. Honestly, I don't know, guys. This is a tough one. I mean, the guy's in counseling, but how do we know he's telling the full truth? Anyways, here is the final update. I've logged into this throwaway a couple of times over the past week, and honest to God, have 50 DMs and comments asking me to update, so here it goes. Some of you may also know that my story got featured on major news websites and blogs. It was crazy. I left way too much identifiable info on my posts, so pretty much all my social circle knew it was me, and it was also the way most everyone figured out my ex had been cheating. We had a quote-unquote meeting among the 4 of us as to whether or not we should proceed. We pretty much agreed that not showing up would cause more drama and whispers than if we didn't show up, so we agreed to be civil and stay in our respective places. But having to spend that hour or so in the same room with him just fueled me up with adrenaline and pure rage. That led into the bachelorette party that night, where I got freaking hammered and honest to God made out with so many people while dancing I can't even count. I also ended up having my first one night stand ever with a 20-year-old super cute guy from our university's wrestling team who was so sweet. I'm not proud of doing that, but I'm also not ashamed either. It made me feel desirable. X and I were of course paired up at rehearsal, and I hate to admit this, we had an absolute blast with each other. It wasn't a mistake that we had such a great and fun relationship. We're very compatible. It probably also worked because we were able to put the issue on the side and focus on something else. The wedding was very much the same way. We walked arm in arm down the aisle with big beaming and genuine smiles since we were there for our friends. I had prepared a really nasty maid of honor toast that would have praised my friend and her loving relationship, loyalty, and truthfulness. I even included a line about how you never know who is going to call in the middle of the night. But as the reception wore on, I could tell the weight of the situation was really getting to my ex, and I felt like I really didn't need to twist the knife any further, so I gave a nice but very generic toast. As night went on, my ex was more and more out of it and sitting by himself, either on his phone or with his head in his hand. I didn't want people talking about him, so I asked him to dance with me, which was actually really, really nice, since we both didn't say anything. At the end of it, he put his hands around my face like he was going to kiss me. I would have totally let him in that moment, and just whispered how sorry he was and walked away. I got distracted and turned around. He had apparently left the reception. I hate myself for it, but I was so sad to see him go. This wedding is literally the last thing we ever have to do with each other. There's no expectation of GOT Sundays or Bloody Mary brunches with his mom. We won't agree over how bad IPA beer smells or who forgot to put gas in the car. Like the reality of him just being able to leave without me arguing that I'm not ready to go yet, classic introvert-extrovert pairing here, sunk in that this is over, like over. I went and cried uncontrollably in the kitchen of the hotel until the bride found me and cried with me for a good half an hour. With that, I knew I made the right choice in being there for my friend. So that's that. Wedding is over and done with. No real drama, lots and lots of hurt feelings, and a huge broken heart that I'm not sure how it will ever heal. I wish I could just turn off loving him, but it's not going to happen. So I feel like the main crazy thing about this story is that it ended up on Fox News. Nah, I feel like this person got closure to this bad situation they were in, so that's good. I'm going to rate this one like a 5 out of 10. I mean, it's pretty wild, but come on. I mean, it went super viral. It was on Fox News. It was blown so far out of proportion. I think it's worth that rating. The next story is from r/relationships from user DoDonGoQueen. I, 24 female, was placed for adoption when I was a few weeks old. My birth mom's attorney contacted me saying my birth mom wants to meet me, but I don't want to meet her. Help me. I guess there's not much more to say. Basically, my parents adopted me when I was 3 or 4 weeks old. I don't know much about my bio mom other than I think the story is she was a teenage mom. I know nothing about my bio father. I never really have been curious or had a desire to know the story or my bio parents either. The fact of the matter is my adopted parents are my real parents. They've raised me almost my whole life, and half the time everyone, including me, forgets I'm adopted. I'm now happily married and have a good start to my career. Recently, an attorney representing my birth mother contacted me, saying my birth mother very much wants to meet me. Reddit, while I'm grateful to my birth mother for placing me for adoption and for giving me the best set of parents and brothers, my adopted parents' biological children, in the world, I'm not very interested in meeting her. I have no animosity towards her at all. As I said, I'm so grateful she gave me the best shot at life possible, but she's a stranger to me, and I feel no pull, tie, or even curiosity about her. I'm happy with my life and my family, and this just seems like it would disturb that or throw it out of balance somehow. Am I a horrible person for not wanting to meet my birth mom? I'm feeling really down about it. My husband supports me either way, but he loves me like crazy and isn't the best for unbiased opinions. Neither my parents or my brothers know about this, just my husband, because I really don't want to involve them unless absolutely necessary. And what should I say to my birth mom's attorney to make the rejection and letdown as kind and easy as possible on my birth mom? I don't want to hurt her, but I don't want to meet her. Yeah, I feel like the OP has every right to not want to meet their birth mom. Any adopted people in the comments, let me know. Let me know if you've dealt with something similar to this, because I have no clue what I'd do in the situation. Anyways, here's the update. I just wanted to give a quick update and let everyone know what happened. I decided to write a little bio about myself. I gave a brief synopsis of my childhood, my parents, and my brothers. I wrote about my college major, my degree, my career, my husband, and my plans and goals, as well as some hobbies I like to do. I also included a few photos of me, my husband, and my family. I also briefly thanked her for giving me a chance for a wonderful life, and that I was very happy. I sent everything to her lawyer and conveyed to him to tell my birth mom that I had thought long and hard about it, and I'm just not ready for a meeting or any kind of a relationship at this point in time, but that I wanted her to have some takeaway. I also asked that if she had any relevant medical history on her side of the family, or if she knew about any health issues my bio dad faced, to please let me know, as my husband and I plan on trying to start a family in the near future. Her lawyer got back to me yesterday and said my birth mom was disappointed about not being able to meet me, but she was thrilled and grateful for the bio and pictures I had provided her, and it was clear I had been raised well. And that she also wanted to tell me there were no major health issues in her family, and to the best of her knowledge, none from my birth father. But if anything came up, could she please contact me in the future? I responded that he, the lawyer, is free to reach out to me anytime if she has any relevant information in the future. I purposely said this because I don't want my bio mom just calling me out of the blue one day and possibly trying to harass me into having a relationship. I'd rather do everything through a legal third party. I reiterated again, I don't want a relationship currently, but I might be open to it someday. I doubt it. And they were free to keep my contact info, and I would keep theirs just in case. Why burn bridges unnecessarily? He thanked me, and that was the end of that. I'm happy with my decision. Glad I could give my birth mom some closure that she might have made the right choice, and happy to be starting my life with my career and husband. I know this isn't really the typical juicy stuff Reddit likes, but it is what it is, and I just wanted to let all the people who took their time to help me know how it turned out. Thanks again. I feel like that's a solid, wholesome-ish ending. I mean, the OP doesn't really owe their birth mom anything, as the birth mom gave her up for adoption, but it's cool that they were nice enough to give a little bio and some pictures. But the pictures, that kind of sketches me out. Because what if she just comes across her birth mom in the future out in public? I don't know if they must have thought about that. I'm going to rate this one like a 3 out of 10. It's not super insane, but I just wanted to include it because this person gave their bio mom pictures of them. And if that were me, I would be living in constant worry that they're going to come across me out in public. So actually, no, we'll do like a 4.5. Anyways, here is the next Reddit post. It's from r/relationships from user Marzipan Fabulous. My boyfriend blames me for a business deal gone wrong because he was rude to me. My boyfriend Derek owns a bunch of businesses. A few days ago, he wanted to meet with a representative of a restaurant chain in order to acquire one of the stores. Derek invited Alex, the representative, to have dinner with us at a fancy restaurant. Everyone followed COVID protocols where we live. Things were going well, and when Derek left for the bathroom, Alex and I began to talk. Alex told me his family was from Russia originally, and I told him my father trained in the Russian army. When Derek came, I was talking to Alex about a good borscht recipe. Derek, for some reason, thought I was annoying Alex and told me, Alex came here to talk about business, not some dumb Russian soup. Oh my gosh. And then said, sorry about that, Alex. She talks about a lot of useless anecdotes. I got red in the face, and Alex said, well, Derek, I care about dumb Russian soup because I'm Russian. Things were awkward, and long story short, Derek didn't get approved for the franchise, and now he's blaming me for it. I feel really guilty and don't know what to do. Oh my gosh, do not feel guilty. This was not your fault at all. Your boyfriend is a nut job. Anyways, here's the update the next day. After what happened, I started to reflect on our relationship as a whole. I noticed the trend that whenever I talked to someone, Derek would always be hovering over me. Not just business partners, but his family during events too. Also, him insulting me for what I would say was a trend I didn't notice until now. I told Derek about this in a last attempt to salvage our relationship because he still had some redeeming qualities. I told Derek I was thinking of breaking up because he didn't respect me. Derek claimed I wouldn't because I needed his money, and I pointed out that I come from an upper middle class family and I'm studying to become an RN, so I don't need anything from him but his respect. Derek then broke down and told me he grew up seeing his father putting down his mother all the time. Derek said if I don't have my own opinions and I rely on him for everything, I won't ever leave. Apparently, that's what his father taught him. I don't know. I broke up with Derek and I blocked him and changed my phone number after he threatened to ruin my life and tell the university awful things about me. Jeez, like, I get generational trauma, but wow. It's genuinely insane to me that people like this actually exist. I'm giving this story like a 7, 7.5. I'm giving Derek a negative 10 out of 10. Because who is this guy? Who does he think he is? Derek played himself, and the OP lives happily ever after. Moving on. Anyways, the next one is from r/am I the asshole from user looking to hide. Am I the asshole for not delivering the food I made to go to an event I got uninvited to? What? 2 weeks ago, I got invited to a baby shower from a friend who I haven't seen in years. She moved to another state, but had apparently moved back, and now is having her baby shower here. I was so excited since I haven't seen her in so long. She started a group chat with all the mutuals she invited. She did disclose that this was going to be a quick and small one since she had just found out she was pregnant when she was 35 weeks with an induction scheduled on her 37th week. We all started volunteering to be responsible for different things for the baby shower. I said I'll cook Filipino food and help pay for some of the decor. I sent money to the friend who was in charge of decorating. I asked Mom to be how many people are invited besides the ladies in the group chat. She told me 15. There's 10 of us in the group chat, including me, so I thought I'll cook for 50 people to be on the safe side just in case she invited a few more. I started shopping for ingredients for the lumpia, pancit, chicken adobo, rice, and a grazing table. I started prepping and coordinating with the decor lady. We figured where we wanted the food and grazing table and told the MTB. She approved. Now, the day before her baby shower, I spent the whole day cooking. I took the day off. I only work part-time since I'm the primary caretaker for my baby while my man works. Mind you, I had to arrange for my mother-in-law to watch my baby while I did all the cooking and for me to go to the baby shower. I didn't want to bring my baby since I would be busy with the catering. It was by luck she was off those days. Then, the night before the baby shower, she DM'd me on Instagram that she had to make some hard decisions and had to uninvite me, but still wanted me to drop off the food. I told her I understand and respect her decision, but I will not be dropping off the food. She asked me why, and I told her it wouldn't make any sense for me to drive 75 minutes to drop off food to an event I'm no longer invited to. That the only reason I volunteered to do so was because I was invited. She asked me how she was going to find someone to cater on such short notice, that it was messed up and hateful. A few friends sided with her while most sided with me. I want to know from a stranger's perspective, am I the a-hole? Is that even a question? Like, absolutely not. Alright, so here's an update the same day, and it starts with a transcript of the text. Hey girl, I know it's late, but I decided to change the guest list, and please don't think I don't love you, but after some real hard decisions, I had to take you off the list. But please don't take it the wrong way, I just wanted immediate family and close friends. I appreciate you for all the support you put in, specifically with the food, so it would be great. If you could drop off the food, that'd be appreciated. What? Like I said, please don't take it the wrong way. I love you still. With a crying emoji and hearts. OP. I definitely understand, and unfortunately, there's no need for me to cater your event for free, since the only reason I did it is because I was invited. I also put in a lot of effort because I considered you a close friend. Personally, it wouldn't feel right for me to cater an event I got uninvited to, so I hope you can see where I'm coming from. Have a good night, and I hope tomorrow is great for you and yours. Lots of love. Ex-friend. So you're not going to bring the food because I took you off the guest list? Are you being for real? Because I said it was a hard decision, and it didn't mean I didn't love you or nothing. I think it's messed up you're going to cancel on such short notice. Like, I don't know who else can cater on such short notice. If you don't come through with the food like you said you already made, like, why not just bring it? This feels hateful. No, I will not be bringing the food. You're a 75-minute drive, and as I said, I did it for free, along with everything else, because I was invited. I understand it's such a short notice, but I also made time for your event, and you uninvited me on a short notice. I spent the whole week prepping, and spent my whole day today cooking. Ex-friend. I thought you were my friend, so for you to do this messed up thing, like, I don't know why you can't just drop it off. Like, who else is going to be able to cater for tomorrow? It's late already, and you know everyone is looking forward to the food. Okay, so here's an update 16 months later. Hi guys, I posted on here a year and some change ago. I had a friend who had invited me to her baby shower and disinvited me the night before. I finally reconnected with one of the three that sided with her. I also knew a lot of you guys, and including myself, wondered what happened and why did it happen. Well, a lot of you guessed right. The three that sided with her knew I loved showing up for my friends. They knew I would go all out without hesitation. I put no monetary value on my efforts because if I can do it, then I will. Plus, I've been fortunate to be blessed financially, so I try to share the wealth with my people. Anyways, according to her, Mother-to-be agreed that I would go all out, and I did. Me and the mother-to-be were good friends prior to her moving, so there's no reason why I wouldn't. We didn't have any issues, so I'm like, heck yeah, I want to do something amazing for her. The four of them agreed that they'll all play along as if I was going to be invited and ask me updates on the food and whatnot, but then dropped me after the baby shower. She said what her and the other two didn't anticipate was that the mother-to-be would uninvite me the night before. I guess she had something against me and just couldn't stand the idea of me being there. She thought I was a pushover and flaunted my wealth. That I do extravagant things for no reason, like posting vacations. That she felt some type of way because I was okay with spending all the money and not thinking about how it would make her feel. Like she was a charity case and she can't afford to do anything. She felt like I was outdoing her and the event was for her. This is from my understanding, so please take it with an open mind. But as I said in my previous post, the whole point of all the girls being there was to take the load off her shoulders since she was having a hard time with her pregnancy. I was blessed with an amazing baby shower, so I wanted her to have one too. Not out of pity, but because I did have love for her before all the BS. There was never a time I thought I was better than her or anyone. I just wanted her and the guests to have a good time. I'm a firm believer that what you invest in gets reciprocated one way or the other. I value all my friendships and do invest in them when I can. So yes, for those who guessed, I was never truly invited. You were right. It did leave a dull ache in my chest. While I did reconcile with one of the three, although I told her that my trust for her has been broken and I'm not sure if our friendship would be the same. Wow, so it was a scheme all along. Man, I want to be friends with this OP. Like, I don't know, man. It's just so aggravating to see that some of the best people get taken advantage of in the worst ways sometimes. This one gets a 9.5 because how can someone be so terrible to like coordinate this insane plan just to get someone to cook for them for free? I feel like it takes a certain level of narcissism and being psychotic. The next one is from r/relationships from user not a dog Nana. Me, 61 female, with my daughter, 28 female. She's angry I don't consider her pets my grandchildren. Okay. My son told me about this website. Daughter in question frequents it as well. So I'm hoping for some insight from a younger crowd. He suggested changing everyone's names for anonymity, so hopefully I keep the aliases right. I have 3 wonderful children. A son named Michael, he's 35, and 2 daughters, Anna, 31, and Marnie, 28. All three are married to lovely people, and Michael and Anna both have children. I adore my grandchildren, but I want to make that clear that I've never expected my children to give me grandchildren. I respect each of them and how they choose to live their lives because it's their lives. I realize this might come off as overly defensive, but I had a mother who felt entitled to influence over certain decisions in my life, such as picking the husband I am now divorced from. That being said, I adore being a grandma. Each of my grandchildren is a blessing, and I'm so very proud of every single one of them. I'm the grandma who drives everybody crazy by taking a million pictures, and I have a couple of dedicated shelves that I'm constantly updating with the latest pictures of my family. Yes, my children have suggested a digital photo frame, but I'm too old-fashioned to give up my paper copies. Now, on to the issue. Marnie and her husband are child-free, but own 3 large dogs of varying breeds. They paid a lot of money for those dogs from high-quality breeders, and they've gotten the dogs great training. These dogs are obedient, sweet animals who love to be loved, even if they sometimes forget their own size. Hard to share a recliner with 150 pounds of muscle. I do love these dogs, and I'm happy to have them over whenever Marnie or her husband come for a visit. Last week, I got a call from Marnie in tears that honestly came as a bit of a shock. Now, I've mentioned the shelves of pictures I have. Apparently, at their most recent visit, Marnie's husband scrutinized the photos and realized that while each family has its own shelf, the grandkids get a separate shelf, and none of the dogs' photos were on that shelf. To be clear, I do have pictures of the dogs, and I love the dogs, love the dog pictures. But those pictures are only on Marnie and Marnie's husband's dedicated shelf. Michael and Anna's families both have their own shelves, and then there's an additional shelf just featuring pictures of my grandchildren. School photos, pictures from formal dances, games, recitals. Marnie told me that she's hurt that I don't have pictures of her dogs on the grandchildren's shelf because she said they are my children, and she feels I do not value her or her family as much as Michael and Anna. This is just not true, and I admit, I got a little defensive out of shock. I pointed out that I spend equal amounts of time with each of my children, and everybody has their own designated call night. She said I'm always going to Michael's daughter's soccer games or Anna's children's dance recitals, and I countered that I also went to Marnie's husband's softball games. I even hosted their league holiday party last year. We argued for about an hour and just kept returning to the dog pictures not being on the same shelf as the grandchildren, and all I could really say was that I never considered the dogs as my grandchildren, just beloved family pets. Marnie hung up on me after that, and I felt absolutely horrible because it felt like we were both talking past each other. Michael called me just moments after hanging up because it was his family's designated call night and I'd missed our usual time. I was still upset from the call with Marnie and told him about our conversation, which I shouldn't have done and absolutely regret. He immediately went off on his sister. He was furious that she was angry with me and offended that she would even suggest her dogs were on the same level as his or Anna's children. I quickly got the sense from his rant that this was a resentment long brewing between the two of them. They didn't really see eye to eye as children, but they've always been friendly to each other in front of me. And Marnie is a great aunt to both Michael and Anna's children. But he just went absolutely in on his sister, calling her selfish and spoiled and delusional, which I told him was inappropriate and rude and not something I wanted to hear him say about his sister. He said that he and Anna had been putting up with her BS for far too long, and that he couldn't believe she was trying to drag me into this nonsense. He closed out his rant by saying that comparing her dogs to his children was an effing insult, and he wouldn't stand for that shit. He then got an earful about swearing at his mother, and by the time it was far past the children's bedtime, so I missed out on catching up with them. All around, not a good night. I tried calling both Marnie and her husband the next day and got sent straight to voicemail. I assumed it was too early and they needed some more time to cool off, so I just left messages saying I love them and miss them and hope we could talk more about this. I sent a text message on Sunday to Marnie, but she didn't reply. So I waited until today, Marnie's designated call day, to try again, but I got sent straight to voicemail again. Michael and Anna both have tried calling Marnie and her husband, and they've also not gotten through. I feel like an emotional bomb has dropped on my family, and all I want is to get everyone in a room and talk this out. It's Thanksgiving next week, and I want everyone to feel welcome and happy in my home, but I don't know what to do. Does anyone have any advice or insight to provide in this situation? Okay, I'm sorry, but Marnie's tripping. Marnie's crazy. Like, I get loving your dog as much as you could love a child, because I love my dog. But I mean, come on. It's just a little much. Like arguing the point of the photos not being on the grandchild shelf. Anyways, I'm gonna read the update. It's from later that same day. Well, I just got off the phone with my middle daughter, Anna, and bless her for dealing with this nonsense when she's trapped at home on bed rest. I now have a much better understanding of the situation and thought I would share some of that with all of you, since you've been so kind as to spare me your time today. Also, I've learned that I have raised quite the trio of potty mouths, and I'm thinking a swear jar fund for my family's vacations isn't out of the question. Side note, guys, this lady sounds so wholesome. I decided not to text Anna and bring her further into this mess because of the aforementioned bed rest, but little did I know she had spent most of her morning getting on to both of her siblings for their behavior. This fight apparently spilled over to Facebook and just consisted of the two of them posting statuses about each other, but not bothering to actually speak. Anna saw this, knew that I had been brought into the fight, and decided she would end it herself. While I appreciate her efforts, I'm a little annoyed that all this tension was boiling under the family and that my children apparently felt the need to protect me from their arguments. And then they go and explode the family with a resentment no one bothered to share. I'm also a little upset that Anna felt the need to act as a mediator when Michael and Marnie should have behaved like adults and simply had a discussion. I'm planning some significant one-on-one time with all my children in the near future, just so that we can clear the air and everyone knows that they've been heard. Michael claims that Marnie started it, while Anna says that Michael started it, but regardless, one or two off-color comments from younger, more stubborn, and more insecure people about the other's choices has snowballed over the years to this new nonsense. Marnie felt judged for choosing not to have children, and Michael felt disrespected by some despairing remarks his sister made in the past. Anna has been witness to most of these little spats, and I told her I don't want any more specifics, because it was wrong of them to throw me in the middle of this the way they did. And I'm certainly not going to let myself be put in the middle again. I'm also hoping Anna washes her hands of their fighting, but I know that it's ultimately her choice. My children are good at communicating with me, but less so communicating amongst themselves. Anna's told me to expect a call from both of them this afternoon, after they get dinner together and talk things out. I'm not expecting that everything will be perfectly resolved after one conversation, but I'm glad to know they can put aside their grievances with each other long enough to try. Anna has also told me, with permission from Marnie, that part of Marnie's blow-up had to do with a fight with her in-laws. They are less willing to accept not having grandchildren from their son. His father is a senior and he is a junior, and they were expecting the third. So that's about where things are left. I'm still upset at both Michael and Marnie, but I'm not really looking for an apology from either of them. I just want them to know that they are loved and respected. I'm sorry if this is all a bit rambling, as Anna had a lot to say. I'm thinking of suggesting the four of us attend a family therapy session after Thanksgiving, just to get everyone on the same page. I would also like to say thank you to everyone who commented, and there are so many, but a special thanks to those who offered their perspective as child-free people like Marnie. I feel like I have a better idea now of some thoughts and feelings she might be having, whether she realizes it or not, or how we can keep improving our relationship. That honestly sounds like such a giant headache. Like, these children aren't children anymore. They're grown adults and just need to sit down and have a conversation. At the end of the day, I feel like it all boils down to being able to respect your siblings' positions. Guys, this poor mom. I stand by what I said when I originally read this story, that it's just kind of questionable that they're like, yeah, no, my dogs are your grandkids and you have to accept that. Like, I get loving your dogs. I love my dogs. but putting your family in a giant argument, you get like a 7 point. No, you get an 8 out of 10 on the insanity scale. You're crazy. The next story today is from r/relationship advice from user throwrabthief26. My 26 female friend, 26 female, has accused me of stealing her boyfriend, 25 male. He had no idea they were dating. See, this is why I love non-scary stories. Like, what? Names changed to respect privacy and throwaway account. Honestly, no idea where to start with this, and sorry if it's long. I've been friends with Carly, also 26 female, since middle school. We lost touch after I moved out of state for law school, but our parents are still friends. I moved back to our home state last year when I graduated and met Matt, 25 male. We bonded instantly as we're both studying to be lawyers. Matt should graduate this year if all goes well. Because of studying and work, we've taken things really slowly and only just recently became official. As we'd gone official, I decided to invite him to my sister's 21st birthday party. It was a huge party at my parents' house back in my hometown. Both Matt and I work and live separately about an hour away. We'd been at the party for about an hour when Carly arrived with her parents. I was excited to see her as I'd been meaning to get back in touch since I'd moved back. The timing had never been right. Well, Carly spotted us and hurried on over. I was surprised when she gave Matt a huge hug and asked him what he was doing at the party. Turns out they work in the same building and Matt's friends with a few of Carly's friends. They've been out on group nights together a few times. I did the whole, "Oh, Carly, this is my boyfriend Matt" thing, and her face instantly fell. She looked furious with me and ignored me for the rest of the party. I sent her a message the next morning asking if I'd done anything wrong. Carly blew up at me and accused me of stealing her boyfriend, and I soon got several rude messages from mutual friends. Sat, NG, something similar. I don't know, that must be a typo. Okay, saying something similar. I met up with Matt and asked him what the hell was going on. I had assumed that once we'd made it official, we were exclusive. Matt had no idea what I was talking about. I relayed Carly's message and he was even more confused. He said that he got on with Carly when they saw each other, but it had never been anything more than a friendship. He didn't think anything of them spending time together outside of work, so that's why I didn't know he and Carly worked in the same building. It's been a week since the party, and I'm still getting messages from people asking how I could do that to Carly. I've tried saying over and over that Matt and Carly weren't dating, but it's falling on deaf ears. Even my parents have heard about it from Carly's parents. I have zero idea the hell to do. Where do I go from here? I trust Matt completely, but what do I do about Carly? Edit. People have asked about the friends who have sent messages. These are all mutual friends of myself and Carly who we've known since high school. None of them, as far as I know, have ever met Matt. None of his work friends who also know Carly have sent me messages. Also, I've spoken to Carly and we're meeting up tomorrow to talk. Okay, so here's one of the top comments. It seems you unintentionally busted up Carly's fantasy. Not your fault, not your problem. She's immature and full of drama. You know, I'm thinking immature and full of drama might be an understatement. If this chick had like a full-on fantasy that that's beyond a fantasy. Like she believed it to be true. That's not a fantasy. That's a delusion. So she's delusional. All right, so here's an update from the next day after she met up with Carly. Well, I met up with Carly. They're not dating and never were, so Matt isn't a cheater. I met up with Carly this morning at a coffee shop in our hometown. She wasn't happy to be there, but I'm over her feelings after the past week I've had. I sat her down and asked her to give me her side of the story. I told her exactly what Matt had said to me and asked for her to explain everything. Carly met Matt last year, not long before I moved back to the state. A mutual friend in the building they both work in invited Matt to after-work drinks, and that's when they met. Carly thought he was cute and started flirting with him. Sidebar. Matt is awful at picking up flirting cues. It took weeks of me flirting with him until he realized and asked me out. This is something I always find amusing because Matt himself is really outgoing with a lot of charisma. No, they haven't spent any time alone together apart from the odd run to a coffee shop near the building to grab lunch. I went through Carly's phone and there are no messages from Matt apart from ones in the group chat. They haven't kissed or slept together. Carly's never been to Matt's apartment, and Matt has never been to Carly's apartment. I asked her why she thought he was her boyfriend. This is a direct quote. Okay, so we're not officially boyfriend and girlfriend yet, but I was sure he was going to ask me really soon. He's always smiling at me and making jokes. I know he was going to ask me out, just the two of us. Yeah, she's psychotic. I basically said, Carly, that's not him flirting with you. That's just Matt. He's a friendly guy. I'm sorry, but he and I have been seeing each other for a while now, so not going to happen. I explained how we'd been taking it slow because of both of us being so busy with studying and work, so we've only just made it official. As I said all this, I could see Carly's elaborate fantasy crumble. I asked her to please set the record straight with her parents, for my parents' sake, and with our mutual friends. Carly looked flustered, but mumbled something that sounded like, yeah, fine. I said I was sorry for this misunderstanding, and hopefully we could put this behind us. On my drive to Matt's apartment, I called him to relay everything. He was baffled by the whole thing, but said he would message Carly. Once I got there, he showed me the text. Hey Carly, look, I'm sorry if I misled you in any way with my actions. Please know they have only ever been from a friendly place. I see us as friends, but that's all. I hope we can be friends in the future once this is all blown over, but if you're not comfortable with that, then I'll respect it. All the best, Matt. Carly hasn't responded yet, and I don't know if she will. Hopefully she'll set the record straight with everyone. I'm washing my hands of this mess and focusing on my relationship with Matt and my studies. Alright, the math ain't mathin' on this one. Like, I get it's not the OP or Matt's problem whatsoever, but this chick needs to, see somebody. You know what I mean? Yeah, I stand by that. I'm going to give this one a 9.5 out of 10 because homegirl needed some help. She needed a therapist. The next post today is from r/relationships from user Ugly Balding Girl. My 26 female company is threatening to fire me over my hair. How do I explain to my employers, 40s, females, that it looks this way due to a medical issue? I'm sorry if this is a silly post or very trite. I know it's nowhere near as serious as a lot of things discussed in this sub, and maybe this isn't the right place to post this, but I'm new to Reddit and I wasn't sure where else to go. I started working as a receptionist for a small business about 2 weeks ago. During interviews and for the first couple days, there was no mentioning of any issues with my appearance, but yesterday my manager, Linda, told me that the owner of the company, Christy, doesn't like the way my hair looks, and if I don't change it, I won't be able to move forward in the company. I live in an at-will state, so I know it's probably legal for them to fire me for any reason they want to. That's not really my question. In the employee handbook, it states that employees with hair shoulder length or longer must wear it up in a ponytail, which I do. However, Christy told Linda that my hair looks messy and I need to have it completely pulled back and off my face. I have wavy, curly, frizzy, slightly wild hair, and I have bangs or a fringe. But I take care of my hair the best I can, wash daily, brush, straighten, use smoothing products, but it'll never be smooth or shiny. I've never had an employer have an issue with my hair, even when I worked in food service. My hair's unique, but it's not out of control, and I even get compliments on it sometimes. The problem with this is that I have a lot of hair loss due to medical issues. I wear my hair in bangs that frame my face, and I don't pull it back in a tight slicked back style, because I have some severe bald patches at my hairline going all around my head. Sorry if this is confusing. I'm trying to describe it the best I can without posting pictures. Basically, it's worse at the top of my forehead and going down along the sides to behind my ears. Therefore, to keep the bald patches covered, I style my hair in a looser ponytail with bangs. Like I said, this has never been an issue with a previous employer. Every other woman at the company either has super short hair or straight hair, so perhaps they're just not used to seeing my hairstyle or texture. I've dealt with eating disorders and major anxiety and depression my whole life, which in certain circumstances can lead to hair loss. Last year, I had an inpatient hospital stay due to these problems. I'm doing somewhat better. I mean, I'm not in the hospital anymore, so yay. But I have to admit, I still have problems with EDs, anxiety, and depression. They're just not as bad as they were when I was hospitalized. Anyway, I'm really embarrassed of my hair. I feel ashamed when I have to pull it away from my face. It took a lot for me to even be able to put it in a loose ponytail, but I don't think there's any way I'm going to be comfortable displaying my bald patches to the world. Personally, I think it looks less aesthetically pleasing than my messy hair. The next time I work with Linda, I want to talk to her about my hair loss. Despite her being the owner, I'm hesitant to talk to Christy. I've heard from many people that she's very controlling and difficult to work for, but I've never had conflict at work, so it didn't deter me from working here. I was too shocked and embarrassed to bring it up when Linda initially pulled me aside. However, I can't even talk to my parents or boyfriend about it without bursting into tears, because I'm so ashamed. I also don't want to be too specific and personal, since this is a work situation after all. Do you guys have any suggestions of how to handle this situation? What should I do or say? Honestly, this one's just very aggravating. Anyways, here's an update. Update, kind of. I went for a drive and thought this over, and now, instead of sad and anxious, I just sort of feel annoyed and angry and completely over the whole thing. I have body dysmorphic disorder, so I think this hit me much harder initially because of that. Now, I realize it's not a problem with how I look, but a problem with how other people are reacting to me. And it's not my fault for being, I don't know, inferior or ugly or something. I'm going to go in and speak to the HR rep if he comes in tomorrow. If not, I'll wait until next week to talk to Linda. I'll show someone how it looks, and hopefully within the next few weeks, I'll be able to see a doctor. But regardless of what happens, I'm going to start looking for another job. If it's not this, it's going to be something else, and I don't think I should have to feel ashamed, embarrassed, and in constant fear of being fired for something trivial at work. This place has a high turnover rate, and I'm starting to see why. Thank you everyone for your help. I'm so happy I know about the ADA now and how it actually does apply to someone with my problems. I'll update with what happens if anyone's curious. Thank you, Reddit XO. Another edit. Also, I tried to upvote everyone who commented, so I hope that I did it right. Like I said, new to Reddit, and I'm a lurker. This account has more activity than my regular browsing account. But yeah, I really appreciate all of your help. Heart emoji. Yeah, I feel like if this person goes to their boss and explains it, it's like, hey, yeah, I have these issues. I have bald spots I don't want to show. I'm very, insecure about it. Like, definitely they should understand. I mean, I feel like it's not a big deal. And the fact that they brought up the person's hair anyways when they just have curly, frizzy, crazy hair, like, what the hell? Like, that's all I gotta say. Like, what the hell? That's just stupid. Here's an update 1 week later. Well, I quit. After making the original posts, I went into work planning on waiting until Linda came in a few days later to address it. However, Christy addressed my hair the minute she walked in the door. She wasn't totally happy. I told her that I had a medical issue that caused hair loss, so I wear my hair to hide that. She told me the front looked better. I mentioned in the original post that I went to the bathroom and trimmed the bangs myself. The bad thing is, I hate how they look now, so short. But oh well, they'll grow out. But she still didn't like the back because it looked messy. I told her that's just my hair texture. When a lot of it fell out, for some reason it grew back a lot thinner and drier and weaker. I remember one part of the conversation went like this. Christy, well, can you brush it? Me, I do brush it. I brush it every morning before I put it in a ponytail. Christy, well, can you brush it? Are you deaf? Sorry. So weird. It's like she wasn't even listening to what I was saying. I think she just wanted something to complain about regarding my hair, and since I mentioned the medical issue thing, she couldn't say anything that related to covering the bald patches. I just agreed with her that it's messy, which made me sad to do. It's taken me so long to embrace my natural hair texture, and I was finally getting to a point where I liked having wild, crazy hair. When my boyfriend and I met, one of the first things he told me was how much he loved my hair, which felt so amazing. I'm going off on a tangent, sorry. And went back to work. That day happened to be the day we got our paychecks, and this is what cemented my decision to leave. Upon hire, I was told, verbally, not in writing, what my hourly pay rate was going to be. On my first paycheck, this rate was lowered by 25 cents. I didn't think that was that large of a dock to make a big deal about. Maybe it was a mistake and it would be fixed on the next check. Nah. This check had a rate that was 25 cents lower than the first check, so 50 cents lower than the rate I was told I'd be receiving upon hire. I know 50 cents an hour isn't that big of a deal, but for one, I'm poor and have a lot of hospital bills. And for two, that really told me a lot about how they treat their employees and how they planned on treating me. So, the next day, I called in sick and spent the whole day going around to temp agencies and applying for jobs online. I ended up landing an interview for the next day and I got the job. It's just a temp gig for a few months, but it pays better than the old job, and everyone I met seemed super nice, and nobody said anything about my hair. LOL. So I called the old job and told them I was done. They didn't answer and never called me back. I'm thinking they're used to this sort of thing. I can't wait to go in and get my next paycheck with my hair in its natural state. My boyfriend thought I should have stuck it out for another week until I start my new job, but I don't think I could have stood another day in that place. Like someone commented in the original post, it was not a happy work environment. I was having horrible anxiety just thinking about going in. Money might be a little tight this week, but it's such a huge weight off my shoulders to know I don't have to be there ever again. But the most important part of this update is to mention someone here on Reddit who went above and beyond in helping me with this situation. User/Gilbert LaRue mailed me a package full of tons of products to help me with my hair. I legit teared up when I opened the box. I'm absolutely so astounded by her generosity and kindness toward a girl she doesn't even know. It's seriously the nicest thing anyone has done for me in a long time. I honestly can't believe it. I just wanted you all to know how wonderful and kind she is. Here's a picture of the products. Sorry, don't know how to add images. Hope that works. Somehow she knew my eyebrows were thinning too and sent me an Anastasia eyebrow pencil as well. And it came with some cool samples too. I've tried almost all the products already. Oh, and I listened to what you guys were saying and bought some sulfate-free shampoo. My hair looks so much healthier and prettier already. Oh, a few people asked in the comments on the first post if because of my BDD that I was imagining the bald patches. I asked my boyfriend and he said no. He'd always noticed them, but he never said anything because they didn't bother him. So I'm not entirely delusional at least. I also want to thank all of you who commented on the original post. I received so much great advice on my job, my hair. You were all so wonderful and supportive. I'm sorry I wasn't able to reply to everyone. I can't believe how many people commented. I've always been a lurker on Reddit because I'm so shy, but I have to say that one of my only experiences posting has been incredible. I hope someday, after I learn about hair care, I can pay forward the wonderful gesture from user Gilbert LaRue and help somebody else who needs it. Thank you so much, Reddit. Okay, bad start, but very wholesome ending. I guess the moral of this one is if you go into a bad environment where you're shamed for things that you can't control, get out of there as soon as possible, if you can, because it's almost never worth the strain it can put on you mentally. I'm really biased on this one because I don't think it matters what your hair looks like if you go into a job and do a great job, but this was outrageous. I'm giving it a 6.8 out of 10. Let's go. Anyways, let's go ahead and read the next one. It was on r/relationships, but the original post was deleted. And it's titled, My 25 male girlfriend, 25 female, of 3 years is very picky and only eats greasy kids meal type foods, like pizza and chicken nuggets. Am I a bad boyfriend for letting this bug me so much? Honestly, maybe, because this is kind of a peak diet. I'm joking. Eat your veggies. I met a great girl, Wendy, my last year of college. We became good friends and started dating after graduation and have our 3-year anniversary coming up. I've got the money saved up for a ring and have been debating popping the question for our anniversary. Wendy is beautiful, smart, has a good job, funny, sweet, caring, basically everything a guy could ask for. But there is, of course, one problem. Wendy is an incredibly picky eater. She literally only eats like a dozen or so things, and they're all things you could find on a kid's menu. chicken nuggets, pizza, grilled cheese sandwiches, etc. Now, while I like those things occasionally, I also like to eat exotic things like Thai food or sushi, or something that can be ordered outside of a fast food restaurant. Wendy never wants to go anywhere nice to eat. It's always pizza or Mickey D's. If we stay in, it's chicken nuggets and french fries. She says the texture of anything else bothers her. I haven't seen her eat one vegetable since I've known her, and she's had fruit only once or twice. First of all, I'm worried about her health. While she isn't overweight at all, really fast metabolism, and her doctor said she was healthy at her last checkup, I can't see how that'll last forever. I really want her to take care of herself. Second, maybe this is bad, but her diet is a total turnoff and highly unattractive to me. To me, it seems very immature and childish, and I'm embarrassed. I can't take her anywhere nice or out with other people. Third, I'm trying to come to terms that if I want to go somewhere interesting, I'll have to go without her. And while I think I might be able to make that sacrifice, I'm sick to death of eating Pizza Hut every week. And it seems kinda depressing that I'll never be able to cook a meal indoors with her and share it with her. I'll be eating my homemade curry or pasta dish or something, and she'll be munching on a grilled cheese sandwich. This is the only reason I'm considering not proposing. I do love Wendy a lot, but is it unreasonable that I'm considering ending our relationship over this? I want to be married and have a family eventually, and if we aren't headed in that direction, there's no point in dragging this out. She's really great in every other way, so am I nuts for letting this one aspect of her drive me crazy enough to not propose to her? I know I can't change her. I've even brought this up once or twice, and she always says, I just don't like other food. I don't want to try anything else. But I don't want to become resentful and look down on her and disrespect her either. And I really don't want a wife that I'm embarrassed of. So would I be nuts to let this be a deal breaker? Should I just suck it up and get over it? Or is this a legitimate thing to take pause over? So I kinda get both sides of this one. Like, I get having comfort foods, but like the unwillingness to try new things completely, that's kind of frightening. I don't quite know what else to add, so let's just read the update. It's from 6 days later. After I made the post on Reddit, I waited for Wendy at her apartment, and when she came home, I gave her time to get dressed in comfortable clothes, talk about her day, and just relax for a bit before I sat her down and told her we needed to talk. I basically reiterated what I told you guys in my post. I told her I loved her and that she was sweet, amazing, beautiful, and I always looked forward to seeing her every day, and that I had been thinking about spending the rest of my life with her. She started to get really excited, but then I told her there was one issue that I'd been thinking about for a while, and that it was making me very hesitant to take the next step. I told her that the issue of her diet was becoming a real deal breaker for me. I said, first and foremost, despite how her recent checkup went, that we both know her diet isn't healthy, and her good luck won't last forever. I said I didn't want to lose her during our middle-aged years because she won't take vitamins or eat vegetables and fruit and healthy whole grains, and was basically living on cheese and grease. I then told her that, as much as I loved her, her diet embarrassed me. I said it was very hard on me that I couldn't take her anywhere because either she wouldn't go, or if she orders food that a grammar school kid would, or that if we have company over, she won't eat the food I cook, and either makes herself chicken nuggets or mac and cheese. I said she was really limiting our social life because of this, and that I had tried for 3 years to not let it bug me, but frankly, I couldn't lie to myself anymore. And it was humiliating and sometimes hard to take her seriously when she insisted on having a Happy Meal while everyone else ate adult food. Lastly, I told her it occurred to me about what we would do with children. I said there was no way in hell I was going to let my kids eat a bunch of garbage, that I wanted them to have a varied palate and to regularly eat fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean protein, and vitamins. I asked her, how can I expect my children to eat healthy if their own mother wouldn't? I asked her if she had ever thought what kind of role model that she would be setting and the example she would be providing. And then I asked her that when inevitably our kids don't want to eat their spinach or lima beans, and want what mommy is having instead, how would she react to it? I finished by saying I loved her very, very much, and that I wanted to work on this issue with her. I suggested couples counseling for the both of us to brush up on our communication skills and ways of handling child rearing and other compromises, and told her I'd been reading and I thought cognitive behavioral therapy might really help her. I then asked her if she could be specific on why eating other food bothered her so much. Did she have a bad past experience? Did it make her sick or even frightened to try new foods? I was hoping she'd tell me something that would give me insight and maybe open my eyes that she wasn't immature and childish. Maybe she had some trauma regarding food. She was quiet for a little bit and then asked sarcastically, "You think I need therapy for my diet?" I said we both need therapy and premarital counseling anyways in order to learn good skills for communication and compromise. She then said, "There's nothing wrong with me. I'm thin. The doctor said I was okay, and no, I don't have any past with food. My parents just treated me like an adult and let me eat what I wanted instead of forcing me to eat what they wanted me to." I just looked at her in dumb shock. I couldn't believe the words coming out of her mouth. That her parents spoiling her was treating her like an adult. That she actually thought her diet was healthy. I reiterated my question about children, and she shrugged and said, "Honestly, I never thought about it, and it doesn't bug me. Our kids can have what they want. If you want to feed them all that health food, you can, but I'm not going to make them if they don't want to." I just sat there, looking at her, feeling like I didn't even know this person. I had never really pressed the issue before because I felt it made me a pretty ungrateful boyfriend. But now that I was trying to have a mature conversation about it, she was spewing some of the stupidest BS I'd heard in a while. I told her parents need to be a united team, and what she was describing was just the opposite, and it was issues like this that counseling could help us with. She said, "The only person who has a problem with this is you. I like what I eat. I just do. I don't think I need to change. I don't want to go to counseling with you, and I definitely don't need cognitive whatever you said. I don't want to go to different restaurants. If you and other people do, that's fine, but it's not for me. And I make that other food for dinner parties because I don't like what you cook. So am I just supposed to starve while everyone else eats? You can eat what you want, and I'll eat what I want. I'm not changing because there's no reason to. I'm done with this conversation." And she just crossed her arms and stared at the TV. I just looked at her for what felt like forever, feeling like I'd had the rose-colored glasses lifted. Hearing her rant, seeing her sit there and pout with protruding bottom lip and all, suddenly made me feel disgusted, like I was dealing with a petulant child instead of a real woman. I told her I was tired and was going home. She said, "Fine, you can see yourself out." So I went home and just thought everything over. How I had calmly brought up a real situation. How she completely blew me off, insulted my cooking, and how there was no real issue behind her pickiness other than just being stubborn. I don't care what you all say. It's what I suspected from the get-go, and it's just pure immaturity, complete with childish pouting. I thought how she was willing to let any kids we had eat an unhealthy diet, and how she wouldn't have my back when the kids inevitably challenged me. How backward her views were on parenting, and how she just refused to consider any of my wants or needs and work towards reaching a compromise. I gave myself a couple of days to cool down and really think, so I wouldn't make any hasty decisions in the heat of the moment, and decided I needed to end this relationship. I realized this issue had been brewing for a while, and the few times I had tried to gently bring it up, she had always rudely blown me off and made me feel like a terrible, awful person for questioning her food choices. I called Wendy and asked if I could come over. She said yes and opened the door with a big smile, and the first words out of her mouth were, "I knew you'd come around and wouldn't let a stupid thing like this get in the way of us." Wow. If I'd had any doubts about breaking up with her or attempting to salvage this relationship in any way, it died right there. I told her I had actually decided I was breaking up with her, that we were just too different and that I couldn't be with someone who wouldn't even attempt to consider my feelings or needs in a relationship, and who acted like a damn child with no manners at dinner parties and during adult conversations. I was through. Her mouth dropped open, and she just stared at me, rapidly blinking her beautiful big blue eyes. She then said, "Wait, are you serious?" I felt my eyes starting to well up right about then, so I just handed her the spare key to her apartment and said, "Here's a hint. Goodbye," and just walked away. I was a lot more gruff than I wanted to be, but I didn't want to bawl like a baby right in front of her. I got back in my car, and as soon as I turned the corner, started sobbing. Went home, called up a few buddies as soon as I could talk without blubbering, and everyone came over and brought snacks and beer. Those are good friends. I told them all I'd broken up with Wendy and reiterated what had happened. They were all supportive and confirmed my suspicions about what other people thought by saying things like, "Yeah, man, didn't want to say anything because you seem happy, but she was freaking weird, dude. I don't know how you put up with her this long." And "She always seemed really off to me, man. Yeah, it's weird to eat nothing but Domino's and chicken fingers when you're that age just because. Good freaking riddance." Then we proceeded to play hours of video games and get drunk out of our minds. Well, I did anyways. Everyone ended up crashing at my place, and they all recently left, slapping me on the back and promising to find me someone who can eat something besides a Big Mac without gagging and throwing a tantrum. As for Wendy, she's been blowing up my phone like crazy, leaving tear-filled voicemails and pleading texts asking how I could do this to her. How could I just end it after so many years? And recently more aggressive, like how I'm an asshole and I'm super intolerant and petty and shit. Not one freaking word of remorse, or apology, or even fake promises to change. Just whining at me for what I did to her. I got pissed and told her to stop calling and texting me. That we were done and she needed to suck it up and deal with it, and to go find some 12-year-old she could share dino nuggets with. Yeah, I know that was petty, but I couldn't help it. I was just really freaking sick of her attitude and dealing with 3 years of grilled cheese sandwiches. I blocked her number and changed my relationship status on Facebook and booted her from my friends list. Last I checked, I already have several likes over me being single. Apparently love really does make you blind. Wow, Facebook mentioned. That's how you know this post was from 2015. Thanks to everyone who helped me in my last post and really opened my eyes to what exactly I was dealing with. Hopefully I'll get over the heartbreak. Yes, I really did love her, and this really hurts. Soon enough, and can take a date out for Thai food without her looking like she sucked on a lemon. So at first, I was thinking this person was just eating this stuff because it was comfort food and it was safe and the textures were safe. But now I'm realizing, based on how the OP described, that she was just spoiled and her parents never made her eat vegetables as a kid. But being as this post was 10 or 11 years ago, I hope the OP found some love. And Wendy, if you're out there, leave your cholesterol levels in the comments because I'm curious if you're healthy still. She never left her cholesterol levels in the comments, unfortunately. Wish I could circle back on that for you. I don't know if this one was... No, actually, it was very insane, but also just kind of disturbing. Like, this chick had been eating chicken nuggets her whole life, and like I said, I get comfort food, but this is like, this goes beyond food. And I totally understand the OP's concerns. I'll give it a 6.7 out of 10. The next one's from Best of Redditor Updates from user Throwaway123211. My brother tried to pull a fast one on his wife, and she did an Uno reverse, and I'm laughing watching him scramble. My brother, fake name Darren, and his wife Anna have been having some serious marital problems, which are 99% Darren's fault. Anna's a stay-at-home mom, goes to college online, and has a side business with an MLM, but whatever. She's made some new friends and seems to be happier. Before they had kids, Darren and Anna had a solid marriage. Anna told me that after the kids came, their marriage slowly went downhill, and now it's on life support. Anna does everything for the kids, and Darren wants a medal for watching them for 30 minutes while Anna cooks dinner. He is more than capable of taking care of them, but chooses to let Anna do everything if he can get away with it. The MLM Anna's involved with is having a big convention this week. We're locals, but Anna decided to do a staycation and is staying at a hotel near the convention with her friends. This had been planned for months. Anna told Darren to take time off work and made it very clear she needed the break and that this would be a really good opportunity to network. Over Christmas, she asked him if he got approved for the time off, and he said, yeah. I told her he was going to mess this up for her, and she said he better not. She called me in tears, and Darren texted her that an emergency came up at work, and he would not be able to take time off. He had to put in a long day on Tuesday and would be flying out on Wednesday. He was so sorry and would make it up to her. I thought he was going to have a breakdown. She could barely talk. I told her to calm down, finish packing, and pick her kids up from school. I said I would watch them until Darren got home. She did not want me in the middle, but I told her, screw that guy. We've never been close, and I don't give a damn how he reacted. I watched the kids until Darren strolled in at 10 p.m. and told him he was a selfish POS on my way out the door. He blasted my phone, and I put him on D&D. I talked with Anna yesterday, and he blasted her phone as well. She ended up telling him they could either get marriage counseling or see divorce lawyers, his choice. But he better stop calling her unless it was an emergency with the kids, or she was calling to talk to them. He cooled his jets after being told that. He stopped by my house, and I spoke to him through the Ring camera. He asked me what he was supposed to do with the kids. I asked him if he even bothered to request the time off from work, and he wouldn't answer. Instead, he said he had an important business trip. He said Anna wouldn't give the contact info for their babysitters and asked if I could watch the kids. I told him to get the hell off my property with his bullshit. If he were any kind of parent, he would have already had the babysitter's contact info. Anna prepped meals for the kids, organized all their clothes for the week, and left a detailed itinerary of their schedule. What else did he need? Our parents and his in-laws won't return his calls. He's flying solo this week and had to cancel his alleged business trip. Anna says she will get to the bottom of it when she gets back home. I hope she has the best time with her friends. I hope Darren doesn't get a moment of peace. No one is buying his lies or coming to his rescue, and I laugh when I think about it. Good luck, bro. You know, I get that we're only getting like one side of the story, but Darren seems like a real special guy. In the actual story, his name's not Darren. The person who wrote it put something else that also starts with a D, but, I'm not going to say that on YouTube. Anyways, here's an update about 2 weeks later. I got a lot of messages asking for updates, so I'm leaving it here. I'll start with the good news. Anna is going to divorce Darren. Thanks to a family member, she was able to get an appointment with a lawyer this week. The lawyer comes highly recommended. When Anna came home on Sunday night, Darren was waiting with a suitcase and said it was his turn to take a vacation. And then he left. No arguing, he just left. In his warped mind, his silence is meant to punish Anna, but he's actually making her life easier. While he's gone, she's making copies of all the financial documents she can find. She hopes he really teaches her a lesson and stays gone. The house was a wreck. She moved all of Darren's stuff from the master bedroom into his office. It's piled on the floor. You can't even walk in there. There isn't even enough room for a twin air mattress. The kids enjoyed their time with Darren. They were asking for him today and want to spend more time with him. Anna called him and he answered. He spoke with the kids and told them he was on a business trip. She's going to file for joint custody. If he doesn't want 50% custody, he'll have to turn it down on record. She also found out that last Tuesday, when he was supposed to be watching the kids, he was tagged in a picture at a bar playing pool. So much for working. He didn't even untag himself, which shows he really doesn't give a shit. He doesn't love Anna or even like her, but he must hate her to act like that. I don't get it. He absolutely disgusts me. Guys like Darren really making other guys look bad. This one was really just insane to me because how can anybody be this bad at being a partner and treat their partner so bad? So, for the sake of it being in the video, I'm going to give it like a 5 out of 10. The next one's from r/relationship advice. An anonymous person messaged me, female 27, saying that my boyfriend, male 29, of 3 years was arrested. Can you help me know what I should do next? I've been with Jason for just over 3 years, and I've never had any concerns or any obvious red flags about his behavior. He's always been very respectful to me throughout all our relationship. We moved in together about 8 months ago, and our relationship has been solid. I barely ever use Facebook, so never really got around to changing my relationship status on there. But 3 weeks ago, I just randomly decided to do it and tag Jason. All the public comments on that post were normal things you expect from family and friends, etc. Even though everyone I know closely already is aware we're in a relationship, didn't think anything of it and moved on with my life. Last Sunday, however, I opened back up my Facebook and I noticed I had a message request from the day after I posted the relationship update. I opened it and the name of the account wasn't a name I recognized, but it was a male name. They had sent me a long message, saying they saw my post and thought that I should know about Jason's past. They said they knew Jason and said that 7 years ago Jason was arrested for serious crimes that I'm not sure I even feel comfortable saying on here. But they were very, very serious claims. They said in the message that they thought I should know. In my country, arrests are not public information unless the person admits guilt or is found guilty, and I found nothing when I searched his name. I messaged them back and asked them who they were, how they knew Jason, and how I knew if what they were saying was true. They replied saying they knew Jason from years ago when Jason was arrested. The user said he wasn't giving his real name and that I didn't need to believe him. He said just ask Jason about it. I messaged back and he has read some of them, but then went offline and didn't answer anything after that. Obviously, reading it all made me very anxious, and I didn't know what to do, and I had no idea if I should even believe what this person is saying. I didn't say anything to Jason that day, but it was really eating at me, and Jason noticed that I was being off with him. So I asked him to talk, and I said that I had gotten a weird message from someone claiming things about him. He looked confused, and he asked what they said. And so I told him what the account said. His face went red all over, and he looked genuinely panicked. He said it wasn't true, but looked very panicked. He said again, "That's not true." He got up, grabbed his keys, and left. I texted him after he left and said I was sorry, that I wasn't accusing him of anything because I really wasn't. I was just telling him about the weird message I received. He said he understood, but he was hurt that I even repeated those things about him, and he decided to stay at his mom's for the night. He hasn't come back since. I'm unsure if I acted wrongly here. I genuinely was not accusing him of what the message said, but I also feel like I had to tell him about it. I couldn't have kept it a secret. This has been our first fight that lasted multiple days. I've been texting him every morning saying I hope he has a good day, and he heart reacts to them, but hasn't responded. I'm unsure if I acted wrongly here. I feel like it all comes down to how you said it, because you might not have meant to accuse him, but it could have sounded accusatory. You know what I mean? But our boy David is acting real suspicious. Anyways, here's part 2. This is going to be long. I'm sorry, but I just need to get this out. Firstly, thank you everyone for your advice and for helping me realize. After I'd read all the comments, I messaged him saying he needs to talk to me because he needs to tell me the whole truth. And because of his reaction, he needs to convince me of whatever he says. And he needs to do it by the end of today or the relationship is finished. He messaged back this morning and said he was coming over to talk. I do want to say, though, he's never acted this way before. He's always been very communicative and able to express himself and his emotions without placing blame or anger. If you get what I mean, he's been in therapy since he was a child, so I suppose it comes from that. So the way he acted when I told him about the message was very unusual and shocked me, honestly. So he came over and we spoke. He told me that this is difficult for him to speak about, and I said I appreciated that, but he needs to be honest with me now or we can't continue our relationship. He told me what the message said was true, but it wasn't how it sounded. I'm going to tell you exactly what he said because I'm honestly still at a loss and feel so confused and overwhelmed. He explained his side of the story. He brought me a file with documents inside. He said that's all the evidence he has to explain what happened. He went through them with me, explaining as he was going through. His story was that he was hired by a family as a sort of live-in babysitter. He would stay in the house looking after the children during school breaks and weekends while his main job was a teacher. He said that he realized in hindsight that their oldest son, Max, who was 14, had some sort of crush on him. Jason said that, with retrospect, he should have realized sooner and done something to protect himself, but he said he didn't realize until it was too late. I asked Jason to explain what he meant because that didn't make sense to me. He said he has worked for the family for almost 5 years, and so he had seen the 3 children grow up, that the parents treated him very much like a part of the family. Then, he said in the last year, Max started acting strangely around Jason. For example, he said when Max got a phone, the parents asked Jason to add him as a contact. So for example, if Max wanted to go out with friends while Jason was babysitting, Jason agreed. It was okay for a while, then Max started sending him a lot of messages, and like calling Jason midweek, just to talk. Jason said he thought it was weird, but wasn't sure how to communicate that, so he just stopped responding to Max completely while outside of the role as the babysitter. He told me a lot more detail, but I don't want to share everything here. But it led up to one day, while Jason was babysitting, Max apparently made a pass at him, and then Jason said he realized that Max had some sort of weird crush on him. Jason said he told him that his behavior wasn't appropriate and that he was going to have to speak to the parents. Max apparently went crazy and locked himself in his bedroom. Jason said he immediately called the parents and said they needed to come home. He said he explained everything that happened and said it probably wasn't a good idea for him to continue working with Max. He said at the time they all agreed and Jason went home. 2 days later, the police knocked on the door and arrested him. Jason says that Max claimed he had basically been grooming him and his little brother for years, and Max claimed that Jason had, well, I'm sure you know what I mean. Jason said the investigation lasted 6 months, but the only time he actually spent in jail was when he was waiting for his lawyer to arrive, when he was first arrested. He said he knew he was innocent, so he complied with the police as much as he could. But he said it was the worst time of his life. Jason said because of it, his girlfriend broke up with him, he lost both his jobs as the babysitter, obviously, but also, because he was arrested and under investigation, he lost his job as a teacher also. He said that time of his life was hell, and he never wanted to revisit it. When he said he was cleared of charges, he just wanted to forget about it and move on with his life. I asked why he didn't tell me any of this before. He said that's not something people understand when you explain. He said he was sorry for how he acted, but he was just shocked and so confused about who even would know this. After he explained everything, I took some time just reading through all the documents he had. They were supporting what he was saying. I asked if I could talk to his friends about this, or someone else, so I can see what they understand. He said no, which shocked me a bit. He said none of his friends know about this, and he wants to keep it that way. He said I could talk to his parents or his sisters about it, but not his friends. We spoke a bit longer, and I said I would prefer if he stayed at his mom's house until I had processed everything. He said that was a good idea. We decided to meet up tomorrow to talk again, but I'm so confused, and I feel like I don't know what to do. I don't know if this is the update you were expecting, but I'm genuinely at a loss, and I don't know what to do anymore. So I feel like if the documents from the investigation support it, and he's never given you any red flags before, why not believe the guy? Especially, go talk to his family, see what they have to say, but I feel like there's no reason not to believe him. It just sounds like wrong place at the wrong time and a bad situation to be in general. Okay, so there's actually another update, and it just caught me so off guard. Not going to be a long update, but, well, I don't know. He broke up with me, so I don't know what it means now, and I wish I had never even seen the message. I texted him later last night after we spoke. I said I was having a hard time digesting everything. He said he understands and told me to take as much time as I needed. He said this was difficult for him to talk about, how it was the worst time of his life, but he said to ask him whatever questions I wanted and he would answer to the best of his understanding. But he said to be mindful because the topic was painful for him. In retrospect, it does show he's trying to guilt me into not asking him questions about it. I said I was just having doubts about him because of everything now. It's going to make me struggle to see him the same way moving forward. I said I wanted to move on, but he's going to have to build my trust back. And I said honestly, it's going to be in the back of my mind whenever I see him around children now. I told him I'm sorry, but I'm just saying the truth. But I wanted to work with him and build our relationship back. But he's going to have to work hard to prove to me that he really is innocent if he wants our relationship to last. He just replied, "Oh." I asked him what that means. He said he doesn't really think that's fair on him. I did nothing wrong. I just replied, well, if that's true, you'll have no issue proving it. He didn't tell me this for our whole 3-year relationship. Of course I've lost trust in him. He left me on red for about 2 hours, which is childish. He sends me back this big message about how he did everything right, and yet this allegation is still ruining his life and how it wasn't fair. He went on to say a lot of stuff. He went on this big rant saying he's given me everything to show what he's saying is true. He said he complied with the police with everything they asked. He said they found nothing because he was innocent. Again, he said it ruined his life. He goes on this big story about how he lost his first teaching job, how he had to work from rock bottom while also having this allegation on his background check for the rest of his life. He said all this stuff that wasn't relevant about how he has to spend his whole life convincing people that what they read on paper isn't what it seems, that he isn't some monster, and that people will still look at him with suspicion in their eyes. He said people read it on paper and then they don't care what you say. You're guilty. He said he didn't want me to know about that because he didn't want me looking at him differently. He didn't want another person who looks at him like a criminal when he did nothing wrong, in all caps. He then sends me a follow-up saying he thought he had finally moved on, found a job that trusts him, found a girlfriend he loves, but he's realized he's never going to have that. He's never going to have a life where he can just be normal. So he said, what's the point? He said he won't live in relationships where his girlfriend is second-guessing everything he does. In my eyes, that message is a breakup message. So I asked him if he was breaking up with me. He just replied that he's not going to spend his life trying to prove to someone that he is innocent of a crime he never committed. He said he's done it with the police and I'm not doing it with you 7 years later. And that he's not living like that for the rest of his life either. He said, I love you, but no, I'm not living like that. You accept me or I'm not doing it. I'll give you time, I'll give you space, I'll answer any questions you have. But if you're telling me you're never going to see me the same way again, if you tell me you're not going to trust me ever again, that you're going to look at me for the rest of my life and see those allegations, then yeah, I guess I'm not living like that. He then asked that I don't tell anyone about what I know. He said it will only ruin his life more if more people know. He said that therapy would be a good place where I could confidentially open up about this, which seems a bit controlling to me now. In my eyes, that's not him working with me to prove himself, so I said I guess we're broken up then. He's deleting all his social media, and he isn't responding to any of the messages anymore, which is childish. I can't believe he's acting this way to me. He's never been like this before. I spoke to my best friend about everything, and she told me she thinks I'm the one who ruined the relationship, and now I'm just so sad. Did I ruin this with him? I'm not going to be posting anymore. Edit. I get it, everyone. You can stop berating me. I'm the bad guy here, of course, as always. I'm the one in the wrong. I've texted Jason to tell him I'm sorry. I've tried calling him, and he's not responding to anything. So, are you happy now? Yeah, I don't know. I feel like her saying, oh, okay, like, I'm never going to see you in the same light. You've got to prove to me that you didn't do any of these things and you're not like this. Like, how often is this guy facing this? He's probably, anyone who finds out about this, he's probably having to battle this with something he never did. And I feel like she's not being a safe space for him at all. Quite the opposite. Like her saying, I'm not going to be able to trust you around kids, like, oh, well, it should be easy for you to prove your trust to me again then, if you did nothing wrong. Homeboy shouldn't even have to do that. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. This whole situation was pretty insane from the OP's viewpoint, which I'm not sure if I necessarily agree with, and her boyfriend's viewpoint, which I also don't really agree with. I mean, it sucks that he's in that situation. Who knows if he actually did what he was accused of? But very unfortunate, pretty wild. I'm going to give it like a 4.723 out of 10. Next story is from Am I the Asshole by user WarningStunning7156. Am I the asshole for leaving my boyfriend's birthday dinner after his mom took my seat? Yeah, bro, I'd leave too. I, 25 female, have been dating my boyfriend Matt, 27 male, for almost 2 years. His family is very close, and his mom in particular has always been a little possessive. I've tried not to make a big deal out of it, but it's clear she doesn't like that I take up his time. And she's made passive-aggressive comments like, I hope I don't lose my son to some girl, even though we've been together for a while, and I've made every effort to be kind and respectful to her. Anyway, last weekend was Matt's birthday. He invited me to dinner with his family at a nice restaurant. I got dressed up, got him a gift I knew he'd love, and was honestly looking forward to the night. When we arrived, I noticed his mom had saved the seat right next to him for herself. That's fine, whatever. I sat on his other side. But right before we ordered, his mom made a joke about how I always need to be next to Matt and said, Let's see how you handle a little separation." Then she literally stood up, looked at me, and said, "Scooch, sweetie," motioning for me to move down a seat so she could sit between us. Everyone at the table laughed, Matt included. I was so stunned, I just quietly got up and moved. For about 5 minutes I sat there, feeling small and humiliated, while she leaned over Matt like he was her date. So I stood up, grabbed my bag, and said, "Actually, I think I'm gonna head out. Hope you have a great birthday, Matt," and I left. Matt blew up my phone later saying I completely overreacted, embarrassed him in front of his family, and can't take a joke. His mom texted me a "sorry you were so sensitive" message, which just made it worse. Now he's not speaking to me until I apologize. I honestly feel like they were the rude ones, but it was his birthday dinner, so now I'm second guessing everything. Am I the asshole? No, Reddit user warning studying 7156. You are not the asshole. Matt, being your boyfriend, should 100% stand up to his parents and not see that as a joke and be like, "Hey, yeah, I want to sit next to my girlfriend." And the mom with the "sorry you were so sensitive" text says it all, to me at least. I mean, she didn't acknowledge doing anything wrong. Here's an update from the next day. I dropped his stuff off and he tried to have a talk with me, and he was basically saying like, oh, his mom didn't mean any harm with the joke and telling me to chill it out and that I'm being dramatic. I told him to go date his mom since she is perfect and y'all understand each other's humor. This is the right way to go about it. He's not going to respect you as much as he respects his mom. So, yeah, kick him to the curb. This one gets a solid 8.5 out of 10. Because what kind of boyfriend is that? Stand up for your girl. Be a good boyfriend. Don't let your mom control your relationship, unless you just want to spend the rest of your life with your mom. This next one's from r/relationships from user fiance wedding advice. Hi guys, long-time lurker here. I have a question I'd like to ask. A little background. I met my fiance Emily in college about 5 years ago, and we started dating several months later. As corny as it sounds, things just clicked. Things got pretty serious and ended up proposing to her at Christmas, and she said yes. But since then, a couple of issues have popped up, and I'd like to get some advice on them. The problem is that I, being somewhat sappy and effeminate, have dreamed about getting married before, and I've wanted for a long time to have a perfect wedding. So I started discussing wedding plans with Emily soon after we got engaged, talking about what we wanted our wedding to be like. Of course, I knew then as well as now that there would have to be some compromise, some give and take and all that, with a little of what I want and a little of what she wants. At first, it seemed like she was open to that, but now I'm not sure. You see, Emily has gotten really pushy about the wedding plans. Since that first conversation she had, she's been ignoring most of my suggestions except for really small ones like what outfit I can wear or what songs we can play at the reception. Meanwhile, she's really excited about her wedding and is constantly coming up with ideas of her own. What's more, she has been enlisting a bunch of her girlfriends, female relatives, etc., to help her plan the wedding out, with relatively little input from me. I feel really left out from the whole planning process, and I've mentioned that to her before, to which she would always say something like, "Oh, it's just brainstorming." Still, that kind of bothers me. It all came to a head yesterday. When I got home from work, we lived together, Emily came up to me, barely able to contain her excitement, and announced that she and her friends had finally found the perfect venue for our wedding. She showed me some pictures on her phone, and it wasn't really close to my tastes, and I mentioned that. She brushed that off too, saying that I just didn't understand weddings, or something like that, because I'm a man. That really hurt me because it's like she didn't care about my opinion, and I told her. She told me it was just a joke and I shouldn't take it so seriously. Probably true, because she was laughing when she said it, but whatever. That was when I decided to tell her just how left out I felt. I told her I wanted to plan the wedding too, and I thought I had made that clear. She basically said that, okay, I could help, but this was still her big day. So she got to make all the major decisions. That really pissed me off for some reason. I told her that it was my big day too. She just said that the wedding is all about the bride, and that this was her one day to be a princess. What the hell? I told her that she was making me feel like I didn't matter at all, and she laughed and said that of course I mattered. Why else would she agree to marry me? And besides, I got to help her plan out her big day, so I should be happy. She said this like it wasn't a big deal. Like I said before, I'm kinda unmanly. I was actually starting to cry at this point, and her nonchalant attitude was just making things worse. I excused myself from the room and just got into bed and cried. I was in a funk all night and even this morning, and it's only now that I can clear my head and type this out. So help me out, guys. Is Emily being unreasonable or not? Is she right that I should stay out of this? How can I get her to let me have some control here? Should we postpone getting married? Thanks, guys. Okay, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like Emily has no respect for our boy here. Like, if he wants to plan some of the wedding, he should be allowed to. It's also his wedding, not just her big day to be a princess, you know what I mean? Anyways, here's part 2. 2 days later. Hi guys, it's me again. This is actually my second update. I wrote a post last night, but that one got removed by the mods. I think because I was asking in the post for further advice. Anyway, as I was writing it out, I came to the realization that I didn't need advice after all, that I had a strong gut feeling that something was wrong and I needed to get closure with Emily. So I brought it up with her shortly after writing my post last night. Things went horrible and now I feel like shit. I'll start by summing up that post that got deleted. I ended up having a talk with Emily on Sunday evening, basically running through some points I laid out in my original posts and that some people who commented on it had suggested. By the way, thanks guys. She apologized and agreed to premarital counseling, but wasn't too happy about it. And she also agreed to have me co-plan the wedding with her. But when I mentioned postponing the wedding, she got really upset and said that she wanted to get married now. Fortunately, we never had a final date for our wedding ceremony to begin with, so I was able to calm her down by reassuring her that we would be getting married soon. We spent hours yesterday trying to reach a very general master plan for the wedding based on both our ideas. But I just could not shake this feeling that she was just agreeing to what I said so that I would be placated and she could go on with the wedding, and then control every aspect of our lives for the entirety of our marriage. I also doubted the sincerity of her apology and was very worried by the fact that she had insisted on getting married right now, and not in an I can get enough out of you way. It was definitely more like a little kid throwing a tantrum over a toy they want. Basically, my post that got removed was asking if my concerns were legitimate and what I should do about them. So like I said before, I realized by the time I had finished writing that post last night that I had already answered my own questions. I didn't feel like she was being sincere, and I definitely did feel like she was just trying to appease me so that she could get what she wanted, as opposed to her genuinely wanting my input on the whole process. So around midnight last night, I approached her with these feelings. I basically told her all of what I had said above, and demanded to know if she really wanted to marry me or just to get married. She lost it. She accused me of not loving her, saying I was just trying to guilt her into giving me everything I wanted all the time. At one point, she even accused me of cheating on her. She fell back into old stereotypes. She was saying that men are just selfish pigs who only put up with women and never commit to giving them what they want and deserve. I was too stunned to say anything. I might have been crying. I don't even know. It was just too much to handle. She eventually threatened to break up with me if I didn't apologize for doubting her, and at that point, I just let her break up with me. The Emily I had fallen in love with had just evaporated right before my eyes. She kicked me out of the apartment after that. I had to find a hotel room, and I ended up calling in sick at work and just laying in the hotel bed all day, just sobbing. Man, this is miserable. I checked Facebook and Twitter and all that a while back, and Emily and her friends have been posting a ton of stuff about how I betrayed and abandoned her and all that. Some of them have even sent messages to me directly telling me what an asshole I am. At the very least, Emily's parents, who I'm actually pretty close with, commented on those posts defending me, and they even called me earlier this afternoon to apologize for their daughter's actions. That's the only thing that's really gotten me out of this funk. The woman I was going to marry left me, and it's all my fault. Sorry guys, I messed up on this one big time.
Oh no, my friend. You did not mess up at all. Seems like you dodged a bullet. And a nasty divorce. You dodged that too. If she's acting like this before you're even married, what's it gonna be like in 5 or 10 years? Always trust your gut because this guy did, and he might not realize it right now, but it's gonna pay off for him in the future. Guys, Droven was spitting facts right here. That's how I imagine everyone listening to my viewpoint on this. I wonder how this OP is doing today, because he definitely dodged a bullet. I mean, if you disagree, let me know, but I feel like it's kind of hard to disagree. So I'll give this one a 9 out of 10. The next one's also from r/relationships from user work life. My 32 male coworker, 30 female, recently had her husband's 30 male mother pass away. I know they didn't get along very well. She had a party to celebrate her death. I now lost all respect for her and want to tell her husband what she did. Okay, I'm going to use fake names for this. Jenny equals colleague at the place I work. Mark is her husband. Mark's mother is his mother. Jenny's mother-in-law. So I know Jenny from work. Her husband Mark, in his 30s, is a really nice guy. He's kind of meek and not very outspoken, but he's a nice guy once you get to know him. He's very humble and friendly. I've known them both for a few years, and I know Mark almost as well as I know Jenny. It's no secret that Mark's mother and Jenny never got along. She would always complain to us at work about whatever petty fights or arguments they got into. She made his mother seem pretty horrible, but I realized I was only hearing one side of the argument. I really didn't like it, but I ignored it most of the time. It was mostly the other people at work, usually the other women, that used to like to hear and talk about that shit. She's been sick for a while now. She's pretty old, and she died last week. We've known it was coming for some time, and Mark is absolutely devastated. He's a wreck of a man by what happened. I was there at her funeral, and I was there to comfort him. His wife was also seeming very comforting. Well, yesterday after work, Jenny and some of the other girls from work were going to a bar to have drinks and celebrate her death. Jenny seemed quite excited for it and showed no remorse. Now, I know they didn't have a good relationship, but this is disgusting from my point of view. A woman died, the mother of her husband, who her husband loved dearly. Her husband, a man who she supposedly loves dearly. I thought, what the hell? This is sick. But I didn't say anything. They went off, and I was there in the office feeling disgusted. I think it's a vile thing to do, no matter how bad their relationship was in life. You don't go celebrate the death of someone your husband loved, especially his mother. It's sickening in all manner of ways. I'm sure Mark doesn't know. He's probably still grieving. He was a wreck when I last saw him. I feel like I should tell him. I have a strong inclination to tell him. I feel he has the right to know. His wife is doing this stuff behind his back, 'cause she thinks it won't affect him, but it's pretty gross in my opinion. I know it will probably make him feel worse. I know it will probably destroy their marriage, and I'll be responsible, but I feel he has a right to know. He's my friend, and I care about him, and he has a right to know. I'm like 90% positive now I want to tell him, but I'm not really sure. As I said, I'm well aware of the repercussions, that I may be destroying a marriage with 2 kids, as well as probably destroying any friendship I have with Jenny. What should I do? Am I right in telling him, or should I just hold my mouth? I feel like he has a right to know, and my strong inclination is to tell him. Okay, first off, I'm sorry, I think this is really funny. The first thing after this before the update is in all caps and bold, guys, please, I'm not gay for Mark. Stop suggesting that I am. But what a twist that would be. Yeah, anyways, if Mark's my friend, I'm 110% telling him. Because someone who's supposed to be, like, there for him and considerate of his feelings, like, I get you didn't tell him about it, but I just feel like no matter how much you don't like somebody, you don't celebrate their death. Like, especially your husband's mom. And he's like destroyed over it. Yeah, no, I'm telling him. He has the right to know. All right, here's part 2. Okay, well, just to clear a few things up first. I'm a male. A lot of you seem to have trouble comprehending that in the comments. No, I'm not gay for Mark. I'm a straight male. The overwhelming number of comments were defending Jenny's atrocious actions, and I'd be lying if I said those overwhelming number of comments didn't somewhat influence my actions and make me reconsider. I did get a bunch of private messages from guys saying they knew if they commented in the thread, they'd get downvoted, but if they were Mark, they'd want to know. I know Mark well. A lot of you were saying I don't know him. I know him well. I know him through Jenny. He is my friend. Well, I invited Mark over to my house. I know he's been in a terrible mood lately, so I invited him over to relax. We had a few beers, talked things out. I wanted to tell him. I was going to tell him. But this poor guy, he was in such a mess. He was so visibly upset and miserable, I couldn't bring myself to add another layer to his burdens. I didn't do it to protect Jenny. I think she's a scumbag POS for celebrating the death of his mother, but I did it because I didn't want to add to his grief. So no, I didn't tell him his wife had celebrated the death of his own beloved mother while he was grieving. Instead, we talked about many other things, about life, family, whatever. I said it seems like Jenny's been very supportive of him. He laughed and then started telling me the truth of the situation. He said he knows she and his mother always hated each other, and she's been anything but empathetic, except on a superficial level. He said at times he felt she can barely hide her glee. I said that's terrible, but didn't really add anything. He said they've been fighting since his mother's death, and it's been getting worse, and part of it stems from what he feels is her joy at it. Apparently the fighting is pretty bad, and it's caused a real strain in their marriage. I suggested marriage counseling. He balked at the idea, and I told him if he ever wanted a friend to talk to, I'm here. I knew if I say anything, it should be at this point, but I didn't. He tells me that he heard from one of the other male coworkers at our place, who's also a friend of his, that Jenny was acting gleeful around the office and telling the other girls about his mother's death. He asked me if it was true, and I said yeah. I then said I don't really pay attention to much that goes around work and don't engage in gossip like the women do, so I could have just misheard. He stayed a bit further at my place relaxing, then he went home. Next morning at work, Jenny came in in obviously sour mood. She walked up to my cubicle and was clearly angry. She asked me, "What did you talk about with my husband yesterday?" I told her it was between me and him. She said something like, "Oh, he's my husband, stay away." I don't remember what the words were exactly. I then told her I know that she went out to the bar to celebrate the death of her husband's mother, and I thought it was disgusting and had lost all respect for her. I then told her to go away and not to bother me because I had work to do. Go off. She left in a bad mood, and that was the end of that. Hope I don't hear from her again. I honestly lost all respect for her. I think she's a bad person. If her marriage does fail for whatever reason, it would be her own fault for being such a callous bitch and celebrating the death of her husband's mother. I still can't wrap my head around what kind of evil person would do that. You know, I was saying that, yeah, he should definitely go tell him that his wife was doing that, but I'd be surprised if her and Mark were still together to this day, because it seems like she's doing a pretty great job at destroying her own marriage. I mean, do I even need to say anything about this one? I don't care how much you disliked someone. Your husband is destroyed by this. 8.7 out of 10. The next story today is from Am I the Asshole from user Philistotle. Am I the asshole for wanting to quit my unpaid co-host role after being told I couldn't cancel when my pet was dying? I, 33 male, am a co-host on community radio focused on men's mental health. It's unpaid and something I do as a hobby, but it's a pretty big commitment. I drive about 3 hours each way every week to be there. On top of co-hosting, I also manage the show's social media and Spotify, editing, uploading, posting, etc. Recently, one of my pets became seriously ill and had surgery. The morning of the show, I found out things weren't looking good and there was a real chance we might have to put him down that day. I messaged the main host to let him know I couldn't make it. Background: he works in the mental health space and has a bachelor in health science. This was the exchange. "Hey man, can't make it to the show tonight. One of the pets is really sick at the vet and we might have to put him down tonight. Was really hoping for some good news this morning after his operation, but unfortunately not." Him: "We have one rule. You can't cancel on the day." Later, he also said, "I hope this is not an April Fool's joke." Wow. I'm not gonna lie, I'd be fist fighting this guy. I responded, I'm not joking. I get you have your rules, but this is an emergency and a pretty distressing situation. I was a bit taken aback by the response given the circumstances and considering you work in mental health. A simple, I'm sorry, hope he's okay, I'll handle the show would have been fine. He replied, doesn't stop me from being honest. And also, I think we have a different view on death. I get over things pretty quick because life still carries on. When you have lost as many things as I have, it gives you a very different perspective. I do apologize for that. This whole interaction really didn't sit right with me. I understand having rules, but this felt like a complete lack of empathy for a genuine emergency. Now I'm seriously considering quitting. It's unpaid, I travel 3 hours each way, and I also handle a lot of behind-the-scenes work, like social media and uploading content. I actually don't even know what to say to him. Am I the asshole for wanting to quit over this? Okay, hold on. So this guy works in the mental health space. I really hope he's not some type of therapist. Because if so, I'm sure he can't be a good one. Also, he's playing the woe is me card. I've lost so many people and things in my life that I just don't experience death like a normal human being. It's honestly disgusting, and what I would do is I'd show up for the radio show, and I'd be like, yeah, so your host here told me that I should just suck it up and get over it whenever my pet got put down. Like, come on. Anyways, here's the update. I just want to say thank you to everyone who responded. I didn't expect this kind of support, but reading through your comments genuinely helped me feel seen and validated during a pretty difficult time. It gave me a lot of clarity and confidence in how I was feeling. The Reddit community is amazing. I ended up deciding to step away from the show. After thinking about it more, the lack of empathy in the situation and the overall lack of respect just didn't sit right with me, especially given the focus on mental health. For those asking, this is what I sent. Hey, I'm stepping away from the show, effective immediately. Your response when I told you my pet was likely going to be put down was unacceptable. That was a real, distressing situation, and instead of any basic empathy, you chose to prioritize a rule and make dismissive comments. That's not something I'm willing to tolerate. Mental health is something I take seriously, which is why I was involved in the first place. The way you handled that situation showed a lack of understanding and respect that doesn't align with the values you claim to represent. I was contributing a significant amount, driving 3 hours each way, managing social media and Spotify, and doing it all unpaid. I did that because I believed in what the show stood for. This experience made it clear that belief isn't shared. For clarity, my pet did pass, which makes your response even more inappropriate. I value my time, my effort, and how I'm treated, and this situation fell well short of that. I won't be continuing. He replied almost instantly, and his response really solidified my decision. I am actually in shock and not sure how to react. Any suggestions would be appreciated. I'm in shock that a 46-year-old male can behave like this. If that's how you feel, then that is your choice. But I go on patterns, and the last 3 times you chose not to come in was because of a sick pet. And all 3 times you canceled on the day. If I am to respect you, it would be nice to get the same respect back. And hey, if this is all it took instead of showing the show the respect it deserved, then you have been looking for a way out, which just takes honesty, courage, and a conversation. Thank you for your time. You talk big about respect, yet you could not follow the only rule the show had. Can you please forward the Spotify details? How we upload it? So, this was only my second time canceling out of the 60 plus shows we have been on, and on the day, obviously, because of an emergency with another pet. So this guy's like super angry, like completely dissing this guy. You talk big about respect, you couldn't follow the only rule, and then at the end, can you please forward the Spotify details? How we upload it is absolutely crazy. So the OP, what he should do is start his own Spotify show, his own podcast on mental health, and the first episode should just be about this encounter. And he should say exactly like, oh yeah, this is the podcast I used to be on. This guy, and give his name, did this, and this is how he reacted. So, if you really care about mental health, you should listen to my podcast instead. Alright, I feel like this one definitely deserves the first 10 out of 10 of the video, maybe even an 11. Because the mental health podcast doesn't care about mental health. Alright, next story today is from r/am I wrong from user throwaway RA556655. My fiance, together almost 4 years, has never shown any signs of being a cheater, but it feels like something weird is happening. She wears her ring everywhere except when she's going out with her friends. Ooh, that's a big red flag. I've never been a club person, but go with her sometimes to hang out. She's super extroverted while I'm more low-key. We balance each other out, and she's exposed to me a lot of amazing experiences. I love her very much, and she's been an amazing mother figure in my daughter's life, who I have majority custody of, so she spends a lot of time with her. I asked her why she doesn't wear her ring out, but she says it's because she doesn't want to lose it when drinking. She wears it to the gym, but takes it off and puts it into this keychain ring holder. My brother was over last weekend when she was leaving, and he asked me about it. I said it was because she didn't want to lose it, and he said that wasn't normal. Yeah, no, that's not normal. I grew up very religious and sheltered. My last long-term relationship was with my child's mother, and she cheated before filing a crazy amount of child support, and then basically abandoned her child right after it was granted, working on legally fixing that. So I worry sometimes that I'm being too trusting. But is this normal? Am I being naive? She also seems to be hiding her phone. I'll go over to her sometimes when she's super engaged, and she will clearly swipe away from whatever she's doing. We have each other's passwords though, and when I ask what she's doing, she'll laugh it off and change the subject or start showing me funny stuff. I haven't seen any suspicious numbers or messages, so I don't know. Yeah, she's being very suspicious. In my opinion, when you're engaged to someone or married to someone, that's something that you should be proud to show off, not, taking your ring off when you're going out to the club. Anyways, here's an update about a week later. So, after a lot of advice, I decided to just surprise her while she was out last night to see her true reaction, like someone suggested. She told me where she was going, but it's not uncommon for her to bounce around to different places, so I had to check her location, which we share on Apple Maps. When I got there, I saw her quickly, but decided to watch for a bit to see how she acts when I'm not around. Sorry if this sounds creepy. She was talking to some guys and hugged them, which made me nervous, but it seemed more friendly than anything. Like I said, she's extremely extroverted and knows a lot of people. She acted like her normal self, dancing, and when a song came on where you'd grind or twerk on someone, she danced on her friends or vice versa. Except for one moment, a guy twerked on her as a joke. She pretended to be the guy, which was funny. After a few songs, I came over, and she screamed and hugged me and started introducing me to everyone, which made me feel good. One of the guys she hugged said something like, "the famous fiancé," or something, so I'm clearly not a secret. The night ended well. She and her girlfriends were drunk, so I got them food and took them home. When we got home, I decided it was the best time to ask, because drunk people tend to be the most honest. So I asked her flat out why she keeps hiding her phone when I come around. She said she doesn't hide her phone and asked what I was talking about. Then I described it, and she made a face and smiled like she was nervous. She asked if I really wanted to know and then started laughing really hard. Turns out she was playing this game that's like reading a book that's animated and you choose how the story goes, called Episode or something. She plays games like The Sims, so this tracks. She said the stories can be really cringy and she was embarrassed because sometimes she feels like our age difference makes her feel immature, especially with the life experience I've had before her. I left home young and she grew up well off and is still supported by her parents in many ways. She's the type to join in with the kids at the trampoline park, loves pink and sparkles and styles her locks in fun ways. She's also getting me outside to try new things, but also likes to do the low-key things I like. I guess the contrast of our personalities made her feel like I would judge her for the app. But I don't care, I'm just really glad she's not cheating, lol. Thanks for all the advice, guys. Yeah, if you guys know what game she was playing, I would honestly be pretty embarrassed if I got caught playing that too. I guess the insane part about this one is how blown out of proportion it got. I do, however, completely understand the fear of being judged in today's world. But I mean, it's a good thing the fiance wasn't cheating on him. 4.99 out of 10. The next story is from r/relationships from user Luffjan Evans. Am I, 25 female, being mean/unreasonable to my coworker, 22 female, asking for rides? Hi all, I'll make this as short as I can. A younger coworker refuses to get her driver's license and a car due to anxiety. She's sort of on my way to work, after recently moving to the area, and asked me to drive her. I agreed, thinking it would be temporary, but she has no plans to get her license anytime soon. Every day for 3 weeks, she has made me late to work, which isn't a big deal in my office, but irks me nonetheless that my time doesn't appear valuable to her while I do her a favor. After telling her at least 3 times to be ready when I get there, there was no change. And then today she overslept, and I was extra late to work, waiting for her to come out, and she never did. I left without her. I sent her a very calm text saying that I didn't feel comfortable driving her anymore and that she needs to find another ride. I also said no hard feelings. 2 hours later, when she wakes up, she sends me an apology and says she understands and knows she's been unreliable. I tell her that I'm glad she understands and that, again, there are no hard feelings for me. 2 more hours later, she gets to work and doesn't say a word to me all day. I take that as a sign that there are indeed some hard feelings, but oh well. I go home after work. I think it's over. I took tomorrow off and I'm ready for my 3-day weekend. A few hours later, I get a long text from her saying that she's so sorry and to please give her another chance because she didn't understand that I wanted her to be waiting when I got there. The bulk of message is about me not communicating with her and her having trouble picking up the signs. She offers to pay me, promises she'll do better, and then asks if I can at least give her a week to find another ride. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'd definitely stop giving this person rides. Here's where my question comes in. I gave her a flat no. I typed out a very long, irritated reply, then erased most of it and called my manager, who told me to have her call him. I texted her that I truly felt bad that she's left in a tough spot, but the fact of the matter is that it's not my responsibility to get her to work, and she needs to ask our manager for help. I guess now I just feel like a jerk. Like I should have taken her word that she'd get it together. But at the same time, I feel like I was right to stand up for myself and not do things that make me anxious or uncomfortable. It's hard sometimes to find the line between standing up for yourself and being a jerk. Especially because I'm typically the first person to let things go on in silence. Okay, how do we think the coworker reacted to this? I'm taking it that she plays this huge victim card. And here's the update 3 weeks later. Hi everybody. My original post didn't get a ton of comments, but it got enough that I thought I'd share an update for anyone interested in the aftermath of my rideshare drama. It was about 3 weeks ago that I told my coworker I wouldn't be driving her anymore due to her constant tardiness and her ungratefulness. I felt bad about it at first because she seemed so young and clueless rather than manipulative. After I ended it, she started asking everyone in the office for rides, including people she had never spoken to who live in the complete opposite direction of her. She did manage to get to and from work every day for the last 3 weeks, basically by bouncing from car to car every couple days because nobody would commit to a long-term agreement. For the record, I didn't tell anyone why I wasn't driving her anymore, apart from my manager and a coworker who asked me what happened after she received a message asking for a ride home. Well, Monday, she was finally fired due to poor performance, which we all knew was coming since she had been there almost 4 months and still hadn't been given a company cell phone. And the floodgates opened. Not only did she ask everyone for rides, she was just as thankless and demanding to the rest of the office as she was to me. The team went on a group outing last Friday, and she evidently got really bratty towards the woman driving her home because she was hosting a Halloween party that night and wanted to leave. Even though I kind of feel like a sucker for agreeing to drive her in the first place, I'm glad to know in the end that I definitely made the right judgment call. Gosh, some people can just be so entitled. Like, bro, you're lucky they didn't just say pay for an Uber.
tough luck. You don't want to drive, you're scared of driving, gotta pay for an Uber. I don't know what to tell you.
Because this person was so entitled, that's why they made it into this video. So I'm going to give it like a 6.5 out of 10.
The next one today is from Am I the Asshole? From user Brenton the. Am I the asshole for letting my boyfriend date his ex? What? No. So me, 31 male, and my boyfriend, 24 male, have been together for about 8 months. He had told me that he wants to be in a polyamorous relationship. I let them know that I don't have any interest in being poly. He kept bringing up the topic and wanting to open up the relationship. Finally, about 3 months ago, I said I would try it. I said as long as there was communication and he let me know ahead of time that we can try it. My only thing was that I had Mondays and Tuesdays off, so those are our days. Fast forward a couple weeks and I find out he has a couple of hangouts planned. And I asked about details of the hangout, and it was this guy we will call Alec, and he was going to take him out to breakfast and pay for everything. I told him that was a date. My boyfriend told me no it wasn't and that we were just friends. He said that this was an old friend and they were going to catch up. Now, here comes the kicker. This was planned on a Monday. I'm off on Monday. I let him know this, and he said he forgot, and he thought I was going to be sleeping. Background, I work overnight, and I get off at 7:30 a.m. on Monday. I stay up all day Monday and go to bed at a normal time Monday night. And this is every Monday. I let it go and told him to enjoy his day. A couple weeks later was my birthday. I was super excited because one of my love languages is gifts. I love giving gifts and I love receiving gifts, and he knows this. I know this kind of sounds shallow, but even if it's homemade and doesn't cost money, I'll love it regardless. My birthday fell on a Monday. I get off work and find out he has plans to meet up with another guy. I thought maybe this was a cover-up so he can get me a gift. I was wrong. He admitted that to me later and that he forgot until my roommate texted him letting him know it was my birthday and if I was going to do something. Mind you, this was already about 1 p.m. that he realized it was my birthday. He ran out and got a store-bought cake and some flowers. In my mind, this was strike two, but I let it slide. I was honestly very hurt. We had a big argument, and I thought we had come to another understanding that Mondays and Tuesdays are for us. A couple weeks after that was Valentine's Day, on a Saturday. I was really excited, and I planned out a whole thing. I had a letter for each hour planned where he would open it and find a love message from me. There were some that had gift cards attached to them, DoorDash, Steam, PlayStation Store, etc. His love language is words of affirmation. Some of the letters were words of affirmation. I was super excited. The day before, he lets me know he has a hangout with another guy planned. I was really hurt, to be honest. I let him know this, and he said he would be back by the time I was up from sleeping. Background, on my work week, I get home around 8 a.m. and go to bed until 12:30. And then I take another nap around 6 to 10. I said okay and waited for him. He didn't end up coming home until 4 p.m. I decided to sacrifice my sleep and stay up to have a Valentine's Day with my boyfriend. In the next month, I found out he had reached out to 2 more of his exes. He wanted to go on a weekend trip with one of them, and the other one he was talking over Discord. Mind you, the one he was talking to over Discord broke his heart, and he's still in love with him. The one over Discord does not have feelings for him whatsoever. The one that he wanted to go on a weekend trip with, we call Eric. He stated that Eric was going to order an Uber for him to his house, and he'll Uber him back at the end of the weekend trip. Mind you, the Uber is about $110 one way. I had asked to meet with Eric just to feel him out. We had another argument of where I let him know. I wasn't comfortable with Polly yet. He agreed to set up a dinner so we could meet. He asked me to drive him to Eric's house to see if that would calm me down. I said yes, that would most likely calm me down, and we can have that dinner with Eric. Pass forward to the day of, and we get in the car to drive to Eric's house, and he drops on me that we will just do a call and not a dinner. And then we do a phone call, and Eric and him gang up on me and start to ask me questions of why I need to meet his dates. I let him know that I wasn't comfortable, and it would make me feel more comfortable in theory. Eric stated that he has a husband and that I should not put myself through meeting these guys.
This didn't sit well with me, and I got super quiet on the phone. I dropped him off to his weekend and left. Eric did pay for gas, which was nice. In the next month, he planned out 2 more dates with Alec, and they were all on Monday. He used that same excuse of forgetting. A couple weeks ago, he came back from his date, and he was wearing all new clothes and jewelry and showing off what his date got him. I felt very uncomfortable, and I told him I'm not comfortable with Polly anymore. I honestly tried, and it's not for me. My boyfriend has stated that I'm overreacting and I'm being unfair. Am I the asshole for this? My boy, hear me out. You do not have a boyfriend. The only reason he introduced the idea of having a polyamorous relationship is so he could cheat and not have to hide it. Anyways, let's read the update on this. It's from 9 days ago, which was about 3 weeks later. Update. So I broke up with him and decided to continue with my move to Oregon. We were supposed to move together with a roommate of ours, but I told my now ex he couldn't go. I called the leasing office and told them I want to take him off. They said I could take him off when I pick up the lease. Some backstory on what I found when I snooped. My ex was texting his friends and letting them know that he didn't love me, but he was using me to get to Oregon. He said he was just choosing to love me, but he didn't see a long-term relationship with me. My ex got on a train and went to downtown LA. When my roommate dropped him at the train station, I noticed that the times for the downtown LA train were later in the evening. There was a train for Oregon arriving first. I asked my roommate what train he was getting in, and he said the one to LA, and that he saw him get on that train. I said okay. A couple days later, I made the 18-hour drive to Oregon with all my pets and stuff. I went to pick up the keys, and the leasing office said that my roommate already picked up the keys. I let them know that was impossible since we just got here from California. They let me know it was Angel. I saw red. I was so mad and hurt. I went to my roommate and asked if he knew. He said, "Oh, so he is here. He wasn't supposed to be here yet." I was so mad I walked away. I called some friends and asked for advice as well. I called my roommate and asked him if he knew. He came out and said he had lied and knew that my ex was coming to Oregon. Now I feel trapped in my own home, and what was supposed to be a happy occasion turned into a stressful one. My ex even ate the whole gift basket that was there to welcome us to our new apartment. I'm still trying to figure out what to do because I don't feel comfortable with him here. If anyone has any suggestions, I would love to hear. Yikes, that is a tough one. Yeah, honestly, at this point, I'd just call the leasing office and tell them to take me off that thing ASAP. Honestly, it's better to sleep in your car than sleep close to a toxic ex. And that's why this one made it on the list, because wow, that guy was toxic. And the way that the OP was so naive to just blatantly getting cheated on, I feel really bad. Anyways, 7.5 out of 10. The next one's from r/am I the asshole from user Secret Anonymous 12. Am I the asshole for saying I would stay at my mom's if I had to share a room with babies? I'm 16 female. My parents split up before I was born. Custody is I live with my dad most of the time and my mom every other weekend. Plus random staying with her if I want. Recently, my dad got engaged to Hannah, and she and her kids are moving in. Hannah's kids' ages are 9, 7, and 3 at 2 years old. She is widowed, so they live full-time with her. This made room arrangements a bit awkward, since there's only 3 kids' bedrooms to go around. Dad and Hannah talked it over last night, without consulting anybody, and Hannah came over this morning to announce with my dad what they decided. Apparently, they want 9 and 7 to each have their own rooms, and me to share with the triplets because my room is significantly bigger than the others, and I don't stay there full time. I said their plan was stupid. They wanted me to share with 3 toddlers. They said they didn't want me to move, but it was the biggest room, so other people should share. I said I didn't care if I switched rooms, because the more logical move would have been the triplets in the big room, 7 and 9 share, and I get my own. I said I'd take the smallest one, until I move out. They said it would be more work to move my things to another room, and their idea was more practical. Then I asked why I was so pressed since I don't even live there full time. I said not staying in the room 4 days a month was a sorry excuse to land me with a bunch of toddlers. And if they seriously planned on doing it to me, I'd make the custody arrangement change, and I'd stay with mom for the most part. I know she doesn't mind, because both of them remind me I could stay with her whenever I wanted. This made Hannah cry because she just wants her family to blend together nicely, and apparently I was ruining her plans. This made Dad mad at me, and I'm not allowed to talk to Hannah until she forgives me. I didn't know this meant so much to them, but I'm still saying I'll stay with Mom longer if I have to share with toddlers, but my dad made me feel a bit guilty, so am I the asshole? No, you're not the asshole. I'm thinking this lady might just not want you in the picture, to be honest. Like, I'm kind of calling BS on how she just wanted the family to blend together and everything to be sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows. Like, no, it's not sounding how it sounded. Here's an update. I'm at my mom's house at least for the weekend while the adults try to work things out. But my mom said I was welcome to live with her full time, and if I really wanted, we could change the custody agreement. Also, thank you for all the replies. I really wasn't expecting this to blow up as much as it did. Update 2. Because somehow I'm still getting responses to this, everyone talked, but Dad and Hannah are staying with their decision, and I've decided to move to my mom's long term. We're going to switch the custody around, so I'll only see my dad every other weekend. And I'm just going to sleep on the couch when I'm there. Obviously nothing is set yet, but that's what we're going to do. And thanks to everyone for being so nice. Update 1 year later. I still get messages here. I just found this account again, so I thought I'd update whoever sees this. I still live with my mom, and I love it here. Hannah openly dislikes me, so I don't even stay for weekends anymore at my dad's house. We call sometimes, but it's what it is, I guess. Hannah's kids are fine, but I only see them on holidays. Also, Hannah's pregnant again, and 7 and 9, now 8 and 10, are going to share a room. So I guess it wasn't too much work in the first place. She just hated me, lol. Yeah, she just hated you. It sucks having the distance relationship with your dad, but, he kind of made his choice. But anyways, if you like living at your mom's, sounds like it was a positive thing overall. I hope it did end up being a positive thing. But yeah, that lady was an absolute step monster, and the fact that this person got treated so bad, the stepmom really just wanted her out of the house. I give it like a 7.9. The next story is from r/relationships from user Dealing with a Crazy. Me, 37 male, trying to deal with 24 female potential stalker. So I have what my buddies describe as a crazy dream. I have this really hot new hire that seems to be into me, which would normally be great, but she's also super young and potentially a stalker. Here's the deal. We work in the same building, but not on the same project or anything. We cross paths in the cafeteria and in the garage, but outside of that, don't really interact on a daily thing. Our first meeting was back in April at an office happy hour thing. It seemed to be a pleasant conversation, and we hit it off for a few hours and then went our separate ways. We would cross paths a few times in the hall or the company cafeteria, but would just smile or stop and make small talk. Then, about 2 weeks ago, I was sitting having lunch outside by myself, and she came and joined me out of the blue. We laughed and joked and then finished up, and I went back to work. When I came out that night to leave for work, she was sitting on my motorcycle waiting for me. She asked if I would take her for a ride around the block, but I explained to her that I only had one helmet, and riding in our city without one could get us a ticket. I know, weak excuse, and my buddies gave me flack for it, but honestly, I'm weird about safety when I ride. I told her maybe another time, then went home. 2 days later, I'm at my gym finishing up, and I get a tap on my shoulder. It's the intern. We talked, and she told me she just joined, to which I thought nothing about, and then I went on my way. Now, I'm not gonna lie. I was thinking of maybe asking her out, but I really didn't want to screw around with my job and career just over a hot girl who I may or may not have anything in common with. I talked it over with my friends, and well, many feel the same way, with a few that live for the moment and others that put more thought into actions. The next day, last week, she joins me for lunch again. We get to talking some more, and she told me she wasn't sure about joining a gym, but after talking to a few people and seeing that I worked out there, she decided to give it a shot. Fast forward to last night, where I get a strange knock on my door. I open it up, and who is there? You guessed it, the intern girl. She said she was in the neighborhood and wanted to know if I wanted to go out for dinner and some beers. Now, I'm a bit creeped out and ask her how she knows where I live, to which she states she peeked at my employee file. She works in HR as an intern. I tell her this is not acceptable and ask her to leave because I already have plans, to which she apologizes and leaves. Okay, so the gym thing, borderline stalker. Like, you can't really call that person a stalker yet. But pulling your address from your HR file and showing up to your house because they're quote unquote in the neighborhood, yeah, that's full-blown stalker territory. Now, I know she's young, so some of this might be impetuous mistakes, but I'm honestly a little freaked out by this. I don't know if I should report this to HR or let this go. I mean, I don't think I've done anything to lead her on. I haven't asked her out, slept with her, or even done anything outside of have lunch with her. I'm not going to try to get her fired, nor ruin my career in any way. One of my friends seems to think if I just went out with her, she would calm down. But I don't think I want to encourage the behavior and end up with a dead animal nailed to my door or something. I'm not sure if I go to HR and say, hey, your intern is looking into my personal file and showing up where I work out and at my home, if they would believe it. She also seems genuinely nice and sincere in conversation, so I don't want to ruin her life if it was just a stupid mistake we make as a kid type thing. I also don't want to assume that because of this she's interested in me, then try to have a talk with her and have her come across as if I'm at fault here. What's the best way for me to protect myself and proceed from here? Am I overreacting or making a big deal out of nothing? Okay, here's an update 3 days later. So, taking a few of your advices, I reached out to the head of my department and shot an email over the weekend explaining my situation and my talk with the HR director. After that, I went about my weekend and put it out of my mind. With that said, there were a few times when my phone would go off. I would get a bit nervous that I would get a message or a call from her, but that subsided. In fact, when I walked through the doors this morning, I really had started feeling better about the whole situation, like everything was back to normal. An hour had passed, then all of a sudden my department head pulled me into his office and sat me down. He and I go way back to when I first started working here, so he told me that he had talked to HR and that he was not allowed to discuss anything with me until they had spoken to me first. He then told me to consider my options before I signed any paperwork, then walked me up to HR. Now, I'm a grown man, but I have to admit that the walk and elevator ride up to HR was the most uncomfortable silence and nerve-wracking experience I had experienced in a while. It was like being marched to the principal's office and you weren't sure why. My stomach was in knots, and thoughts of getting a lawyer or finding a new job started jumping into my head. By the time I had sat down in the HR director's office, I felt like I was going to jump out of my skin. The HR director sat me down and went over what I had reported on Friday before leaving for the day. She kept saying that she wanted to make sure I wasn't leaving out any detail or if I had any video or audio proof of what I claimed. At this point, I felt like I was on trial for something, so I started asking why I would have any of that or even be prepared to document my life in such a way when, up till her showing up to my house, I had never put any thought about her being anything other than friendly. She then told me they found that my records had been reviewed as well as others, but I was the only one that had come forwards with anything. As many of you can imagine, I was confused at what was going on and a bit scared, so I asked her flat out what's going on. She told me that as of today, the intern had been fired, and if I wanted to pursue legal matters against her, restraining orders, breach of privacy, etc., the company would provide me full support and back me up legally with lawyers. I'm also at this time getting 2 years free of credit monitoring and insurance. The company would not bring up legal recourse against the intern unless I wanted to. There was mentions of offers for counseling and such, but I let them know I wouldn't be needing it, as nothing outside of her showing up happened. They let me know I have 48 hours to take all the paperwork to my lawyers and think about what I would like to do. But as of right now, I don't think I have anything to worry about. I talked to my director after the meeting, and he told me that the company at this time is afraid I'll sue, which he doesn't recommend, but I don't have to worry about my job. I told him I wouldn't be pressing charges against her as she had already lost her job, and well, I feel like that would be taking it too far. He had a different feeling about it, but also told me that he might have handled the situation differently if he wasn't married and it had happened to him. Overall, I feel relieved and wanted to thank everyone that had given the advice before. I have no clue how on earth this guy is feeling relieved. Correct me if I'm wrong or if you guys think something different, but I feel like this is the point where stalkers get extra stalkery. Like, oh, you made me lose my job? I'll show you. Anyways, there's one final update, so let's go ahead and read it. One day after first update. One final post. I don't see this warranting another update post, so... Lawyers reviewed and drafted up a response statement. I signed 3 out of all the packets and submitted the response statement within the 4th, 5th. It's really not a packet, just a sheet of paper. I know many of you say report or press charges, but here's the thing. According to my lawyer, that kind of makes her unemployable. I'm not looking to ruin her life, but restraining orders and charges pressed makes her really unemployable. I'm not saying this for any other reason as to be a simple human being. The letter I submitted states that I am taking this chance and reserve the rights to press charges, restraining orders, for a later date if further contact peruse. As for the identity theft and such, I plan to take full advantage of it and have requested a request of proof that there was a breach to my information through the HR department. This, I am told, is only to be used if I do have my identity stolen, so that I can assist with stopping it, and from talking to HR, this isn't a problem. I know I need to protect myself, and I realize that this could be potentially dangerous, even more so than the motorcycle riding, snowboarding, or whatever other stupid choices in my life. However, I don't feel the need to push the envelope and ruin another human's life. She's already unemployed and may have a hard time finding another job in the field. I don't wish to compound that in such a way as to make her unemployable. I also wanted to thank each and every one of you that took time out of your day to read this, and a special thank you to those of you that gave such great advice. Guys, I know I said this wasn't a scary story video, and the OP might not even think it's scary, but dude, you got a stalker. Again with the stalkers. Yeah, that counts as insane. We'll give it a 9. The next one's from Am I the Asshole from previous double 6231. Am I the asshole for swapping rooms with my roommate while he was away? I, 19 male, have been living with my roommate George, 20 male, for about 6 months. We've been decent friends for a year or so, but it's definitely been rocky since moving in together. For context, we go to different unis, and our schedules are completely different, so our breaks don't really align. A few weeks ago, we got in a bit of a fight. He wanted to have a bunch of his friends over and have a house party, but I had an exam the next day and needed a bit of quiet. He was pretty pissed at me, and I didn't really see him before I went home for my mid-semester break. While I was at home, the airline I would have been flying returned with canceled some flights, problems with the gas shortage, and I ended up having to come back a day early. When I got back to the apartment, it stunk like beer and weed. The floor was a mess and dishes were piled up, and I was a bit frustrated with the mess, but also figured George thought I'd be back the next day. I didn't want to start another fight, given we'd left on sort of bad terms. That was until I opened the door into my room and saw 3 of George's friends sleeping in my room, 2 on the floor and 1 on my bed. They seemed to have made themselves pretty comfortable. My stuff was still all there, but moved out of place. There were empty cans and bottles everywhere, alcohol and spew stains on the carpet, and the room reeked. I was livid and yelled at them to get out. This must have woken George up. He came out of his room looking pretty surprised. I demanded he cleaned everything up and went out for a few hours for fresh air. When I got back, he wasn't there. He cleaned up a bit, the beer bottles were in the bin and dishes were done, etc., but my room still smelled and was far from what it was before. I could see he had made an attempt on the vomit and alcohol stains, but it seemed pretty half-assed. The smell made me pretty nauseous, so I ended up sleeping on the couch. It was also gross, but not quite as bad, for the next few nights. Eventually, it mostly aired itself out, but I was still pretty disgusted by some of the stains and lingering scents. George never apologized for this, and we just didn't talk much after the whole incident. I was pretty bummed. We were pretty good friends, and I would have been open to working through this to make the rest of our lease tolerable, but not without him owning up and apologizing. 2 days ago, he left for his break, and I've had the apartment to myself. I was tidying my room and found a ton of ants in my wardrobe, leading to some crumbs they must have left. I try not to eat in my room and definitely wouldn't have in my wardrobe. This was pretty much the final straw for me. The lease has another 6 months on it, so I couldn't move out, and decided that if George thought that was an okay way to leave someone's space, he could have it. It took me the whole day, but I ended up swapping out all our furniture. I set his clothes up in the wardrobe with the ants, remade his bed, and tried to recreate his room exactly. His room is a bit bigger than mine, with an in-suite and a deck, but we both split rent evenly. He found the apartment, so claimed the better room first. There's barely any stains or smells in his room, and even if there were, the deck gives me a bit of a safe haven. Not sure why they decided my room was the place to dump everything. At the time, I thought this was a fair enough response, but he's coming back tomorrow and I'm rethinking it. I still have time to fix it. Am I the asshole? Update 1. Thank you for advice, everyone. I really appreciate thoughts, opinions, etc. Although I acknowledge and understand everyone saying I should change it back, the little time I have had in my new room has been too good to let go of. I feel pretty justified by the support I received and don't feel like being the bigger person at this moment. I'll talk to him when he gets back so he doesn't just walk into the wrong room, and hopefully explain my position. To those asking about bolts, I'll get a lock, but it's tricky. The apartment rules are pretty strict, but I'll look into it. I'll update everyone after it goes down. Thanks again for support and advice. I get that he messed up and completely violated your space and didn't apologize for it. But I don't know, over a couple ants, if I would, do that. Not that I want ants in my wardrobe or anything, and I'm sure none of you do either. But they have spray for that. But at the same time, his roommate did also violate his space. So, I don't know. Does two wrongs make a right in this situation? Anyways, here is the final update. I want to start off by saying thank you so much for everyone's support and advice. Really appreciate it. I did decide to keep the room switched. I also looked at the lease agreement and was able to install the lock on my new room. When he got back, I sat him down in the living room and explained what I'd done. I tried to explain why I was so frustrated and how difficult it had been living in my new room, but he didn't let me finish and ran over to look at his, now my room. When he saw that everything was true, he started yelling at me. He called me psycho and that I had totally disrespected him. I tried to stay calm, but ended up yelling back at him. I told him that his actions were what had led me to do this, and that if he had ever wanted to switch back, he needs to pay to professionally clean my old room and get rid of the bugs. He told me it wasn't that bad, and I had way overreacted. Luckily, the fight didn't get physical, but he did get very close at times. We definitely didn't work it out, but he did seem to have somewhat accepted the new circumstances. Turns out he had not accepted it at all. The next morning, I woke up to the landlord knocking at the front door. George had told the landlord that while he was away, I'd trashed my room and swapped with him. The landlord was furious about the ants and the stains in the carpet. I tried to explain what had actually happened, including that George had been smoking weed in the apartment, which is illegal here, and the landlord did listen, but with no proof of when the apartment got trashed or who was telling the truth, said we'd both be liable. He said this was our first warning, and he's giving us a week to clean it perfectly, or we'd be kicked out and lose our bond. After the landlord left, George and I got right back into it. I demanded he pay to clean it up, but he completely refused. He said that he had done more than enough to try and clean it and wouldn't consider paying for anything while I still had his room. I told him that he was an idiot for bringing the landlord into the situation, but apparently he's got another place to crash and didn't care. Knowing he had a different place, I realized I didn't have much of a leg to stand on. My ego wouldn't let me give up the room, let alone pay for everything to get cleaned up, so I retreated to my room and locked the door to think things over. I decided to text one of my friends to see if I could stay at theirs for a bit, just in case, and they said it would be fine. I knew George was going out later that night with his friends and decided I would start moving some of my things over to my friend's place. George ended up sleeping somewhere else and didn't come home until late the next day, giving me enough time to get all my stuff out. I'd basically moved out by the time he got home, at which point he sent me a text telling me not to come back and that he wouldn't be getting anything cleaned. I sent a screenshot of it to the landlord, just letting them know that we would certainly be sacrificing the bond and our lease. I made sure to apologize to the landlord, not that it made much of a difference, but he seemed to appreciate it a bit. I'm now apartment hunting again and have blocked all contact with George. I'm typing this from the couch of my friend's place where I'll probably be for the next few weeks. Thanks again for the support. I guess I've learned not to move in with my friends and will be leasing by myself next time. Not sure whether I regret what I did or not. I still feel it was justified, but almost certainly not worth all the fallout. So, alright, what I would have done in this situation. I don't think I would have gone and moved all this stuff because two wrongs I don't think made a right in this situation. I would have sat down with him when he got back and been like, yo, there's bugs in my room, all from, whenever your friends were here and they partied and left food under my bed or in my wardrobe. You either need to have it professionally cleaned or we need to swap rooms. That's the deal. And then handle it accordingly from there. But anyways, moral of the story, don't have shitty roommates. Not gonna lie, the OP was kind of the insane one in this one. I mean, I get where he was coming from, but yeah. We'll give it a 7. The next one is from r/relationship advice from user throwRA parody twin 9. I, 31 female, had a conversation with my BF, 31 male, and the rose-tinted glasses came off. How can I navigate this? I, 31 female, have been with my partner, 31 male, for 1.5 years. We love each other. It's been rocky at times, and we've nearly been through a breakup, but each time we talked it out and believed we pulled through. The main subject of contention has always been his hobby and subsequent club. He's on the volunteer community, has meetings every Monday, and goes every Wednesday and Thursday evening, along with some Friday evenings, as well as Saturday and Sunday mornings. That's a lot of time to spend. He also spends several weekends away out of the year to do hobby and uses holiday time for it too. He does admin outside of this also and has been in trouble at work for doing said admin during work hours and has even done admin during our quality time. There have been several incidents at the club, and with him being on the committee, he has spent a lot of time dealing with it. So much so, it affects his mental health poorly. He has even canceled plans and changed date nights with me to prioritize his hobby. This has caused many arguments and conversations which stem from him making a hobby his priority and how he wants me to just slot into his current lifestyle. I explained that this couldn't happen and we have to compromise to try and make it work. I believe things had turned a corner. However, something changed today. I'm bisexual. The local Pride Parade is coming up and I expressed my want to go. We didn't make any explicit plans to go out together, but he stated if he was available, he would go. He knows how excited I was at this prospect and knows how much this means to me. However, he messaged me to say he was now doing his hobby instead and couldn't go. Now, he said he was asked to go and asked me if this was okay. I felt like I couldn't say no, as in the past I've said no and been made to feel guilty because I'm stopping him from doing his hobby. I'm not that kind of person. People make choices. That's their decision, not mine. However, I asked him if he ever wanted to go to the Pride event, and he said, I would have, but my hobby is more important. And then something in me just clicked. This event is important to me. It's something I'm excited about. It's something I want to do. The amount of times I've sat and taken him to his hobby, watched, helped, and supported him without fail, and sometimes without being asked, he doesn't do the same for me because it's not as important to him. I felt like he was saying, I'm not interested in the thing that you find important because it's not important to me, and by extension, you're not as important as my hobby. I didn't feel anger or hurt or disappointed. In fact, I didn't feel anything, and that's it. I didn't feel anything for or from him. No love, no support, no companionship, nothing. All the times I'd given up my time, wants, and needs to support him, and yet here I am with something very important to me, and nothing. I felt nothing. The option was there. There was a choice, but I'm conflicted. I love him. We've navigated things before. How can I navigate this further? What advice would you give someone? Any advice from the strangers of Reddit would be appreciated. And here's the top comment. Sounds like it's not about pride at all. Some people want a girlfriend, but not a relationship. Some people are so afraid of being single, they want a girlfriend simply for the sake of not being single. But they don't want a relationship because that requires work. You want a relationship, he wants a girlfriend. You're an accessory to his life, not a priority. Accessories can be easily replaced, relationships cannot. I guess this incident finally brought things into focus, but any improvement would require an effort on his part, and he's made it clear that ain't happening. But even if he was willing to work on things, you'd have to manage it all. You'd be the one telling him exactly what he needs to know, how to prioritize you. You'd be the one making all the effort, and that is tiring. Find someone who wants to make you a priority, who wants an actual relationship and doesn't treat you like an accessory. Yeah, honestly, that top comment is just such facts. Like, this person is literally just in it for the sake of having a girlfriend. Like, regardless of what it is that the OP's into, like, this guy should be there and support his partner. So yeah, this is a pretty easy one. Dump his ass. Okay, here is an update the next day. Thank you all for the comments. I'm reading through each one as we speak. I might not reply because I'm still soaking in all the insight. Common questions. To those asking what the hobby is, it's a sport and a very niche one, so I'm not going to detail what it is because that's not fair on that sport or the people in it. He isn't cheating. I've been with him on the weekends and taken him to the sport. No, I'm not karma fishing. Thanks, bot accusers. Throw away new account as I posted on my old account and didn't interact enough, hence throw away. I honestly don't care for the whole karma thing. I'm seeing him tonight and will show him the post. And then here's the update 9 days later. Sorry for not responding to everyone in the comments. I got overwhelmed, honestly. We broke up. Reading your responses and information and questions was super helpful and gave me the slap I needed to get my arson gear and leave. Just going through the motions, as you do. Now we're no longer together. The hobby, sailing. Screw sailing. All the damn time. I'm going to go focus on me and go back to being a single goddess and enjoy Pride Month with people who give a shit. I love this top comment. I enjoyed the progression from vague hobby to sport I won't disclose to sailing. You could see the fucks dwindling. I feel like I'm not surprised it was sailing. It seems like boat people make boats into their identity. Yeah, that's pretty solid. This one made it into this video because boat people are freaking crazy. If you're a boat person watching this, I promise you I'm joking. I want to be a boat person. Boats are awesome. Yeah, this guy was a narcissist that liked boats. And the OP just wanted to go to their pride parade. We'll give it like a 5.5 out of 10 on the insanity scale. The next post today is from r/anti-work from user Educated Vegetable. Notified my work weeks ago I'm leaving for a family vacation in July. Tickets were bought, non-transferable, and they are panicking, begging me to cancel. This whole situation is absurd, and I need a sanity check. I work in admin in a niche but important multinational industry. I'm a knowledgeable, reliable cog, and I pick up a lot of slack as we are incredibly short-staffed with plans to add more because it's working out fine for right now. Blah, blah. My boss is going on vacation, and she and I were comparing dates and realized they lined up. She immediately told me I had to cancel. I told her I can't. Things are non-refundable. Since I'm a cog, I never considered my manager's schedule. That's not my job. She told me she could deny my PTO, and if I go, I would be released. Also, for anybody that's wondering, because I know I had to Google it, a cog is an individual who plays a minor but necessary role within a massive organization or system. Also, that is just such a hostile, toxic work environment. Like, oh, I'm the manager, so yeah, I get to go on vacation. Yeah, you should cancel yours though, so I can go on my vacation. Anyways, let's continue. I go to her boss and say, let's make a plan. They say, okay, great, and build a schedule for task coverage, including him taking a few hours each day to sit at my desk and doing my in-person job of fielding industry questions, or taking their info and I'd follow up later. And I offer to log in, paid, for a couple hours every day to help support. He says, cool, I'll present this to the higher-ups. My boss's boss told me that the higher-ups think that he's too important and high-paid to sit at a front admin office for any amount of time. Then the board comes up with a great idea. We'll just offer to reschedule my vacation. They offered a few $100 to cover scheduling fees. I calculated the fees. They're way more than a few $100. Talking thousands, as hotels, travel, transport, everything for 4 I book in advance so I can relax. We do this because it's not just my life, but my partner's summer schedule and his 2 kids and their crazy schedules with sports, split custody, their bio mom's vacation plans, a whole thing. They asked me to cancel it and just go some other time. I said a firm no. The kids are finally old enough to comfortably travel internationally. They're excited, and I'm not going to tell them we can't go because work won't let me. Huh? My thing is, I'm a cog. Should I have double-checked everyone's calendar before scheduling? Sure, but I'm not a managing party. I haven't experienced something like this in my entire working life. I've previously notified upper management of my vacation time at the beginning of the year, just like this, and they just say, okay, great, thanks for letting us know. Why is my leaving for 7 working days, leaving the office in such a panic? There are options to resolve this, like having someone come from another department for a couple days here, another a couple days there, and I offer to support remotely. Also, my vacation is scheduled for July. I tell you in February. Also, shouldn't this be a reasonable indicator of how short-staffed a department is if 2 people being out for any extended period of time throws a wrench into everything? Did I do something wrong? Is there something I'm not seeing? Any insight or advice would be amazing. Here's the top comment. It's March. July is 4 months away. They can pull their shit together and figure out a plan. Either this company is imploding or this post is rage bait. Then from the OP. Unfortunately, this is very real. The company is actually expanding and 2 other personnel have left, but will not be replaced due to cost, and since they left, the department is no longer overstaffed. The president of the company is a tight wad and has successfully run with a skeleton crew for over 2 decades, and is the kind of person that will tell his employees, minions, to make a grand idea happen. If he is questioned or told that won't work because of X, he gets so angry that he's being asked to explain himself or take input from the people around him. It just makes him dig his heels in harder. Luckily, as a cog, I don't have to face the brunt of his ire, but my boss and boss's boss do, which is why my boss got so emotional when this all started. I would leave, but opportunities for this niche industry with my skill set and location are minimal. Also, I'm good at it. Okay, so here's the next update over a month later. Interesting update in this saga. So, some time has passed, and upper management is absolutely begging me to reconsider, reschedule, cancel, anything so that I'm here for the time our dates overlap. Overlapping time, 5 workdays. They keep telling me they have to consider the needs of the business, that they will pay for rescheduling fees, in the thousands. They keep asking me to pull up or answer for my personal calendar to cajole me into rescheduling to come back early to cover some of the time. They keep saying, but you know how busy it gets. Look at your metrics. On top of this, we had 2 people leave the department in as many months, and we're being told no additional personnel will be hired. The reason no one is being hired is because I've absorbed most of the workload, and see, it's fine, we don't need more people. Great. The thing is, I know how busy it gets. That's why I booked a family vacation during the slowest time of the year, and told y'all in March that I wouldn't be here. I wasn't asking. I feel like I'm going crazy with 6 people telling me I'm being unreasonable, inflexible, and putting them in a bad position. I even made a temporary schedule for other departments to cover my work for that time. Again, 5 days, and was told it's not going to be considered because other departments are already short-staffed. It just really is making me feel like all personnel issues are falling onto me. The thing is, I'm looking at the job market right now, and it's bleak out there. Recession indicators waving red flags. Sure, I could get a new job, but not at my pay scale or in my field right away. I'm seriously considering making my part of my family trip shorter so I can come back early. Do I hold strong, or do I let them bully me into changing my vacation plans so I have job security? Seriously asking, because I feel like I'm actually going crazy from the stress. Here's the top comment. Take your vacation. Say out loud to them that if you can't do it without me for 7 days, what will you do without me if you fire me? And then the OP responded, I did. They told me I was a valuable employee, but ultimately replaceable and should start looking for other work. No way. Honestly, you'd be good to if you can find another job, even if you have to take a small pay cut, yeah, that's wild. Forget the job. The stress from this job is probably taking years off of your life. Okay, here's the final update another month later. Final update. Hopefully I linked the post correctly. Thanks to all who commented or interacted with me on the previous post. All comments were read, considered, and offered many perspectives I didn't consider, so thank you. In short, I notified my employer months in advance that I was leaving for vacation. They needed coverage for 5 days, and they told me that if I went, I would not have a job when I returned. Cool. After some reflection and your encouraging comments, I decided to look for another job in the industry I work in. It's pretty niche, so the major players know of or have met each other. I reached out to a vendor of the company I currently work for, and they immediately offered me a position, fully remote and at the same pay scale. They said I can start now, later, whenever. They're stoked to have me on the team. They mentioned I have a great reputation, and all of our vendor interactions have been positive. And because they were a vendor, they couldn't approach me, but they were happy I reached out to them. I'm over the moon. I gave my current position a month's notice, am training my replacement over the next 2 weeks, taking a short break, and then starting my new remote position. And I get to keep my vacation with no hassle. All in all, I'm really happy how this all worked out, and not sure I would have pursued anything new without my current position treating me so poorly. So honestly, kind of have them to thank for opening my eyes. Don't you just love the good ending? And this company that the OP worked for, they're probably going to realize after she leaves that she did a lot and did 4 or 5 people's positions, and they're not going to be able to hire someone to replace what she did. So they're going to have to hire 4 new people. Either that, or they're going to distribute the workload onto other people, and then they're just going to quit their jobs. I'm going to give this one an 8. And it's so disturbing that this is so real that you can get burned like this in the corporate world, because this person, the OP, gave so many different outcomes of how to work through this. But, the person with the higher title gets to go on their vacation. They just need to reschedule it. Anyways, the next post is from Am I the Asshole Relationships by user Candy Crusher 89. And the title of this one actually kind of blew me away. Would I be the asshole if I broke up with my boyfriend because his friends got me a me-shaped pinata? All right, yeah, I'd say that's a little bonkers. I, 22 female, and my boyfriend Matt, 22 male, have been together for a year and 8 months. Matt and I go to different universities and neighboring cities, about a 45-minute drive. Matt is in a frat. That's funny. Important for later. It was Matt's birthday on Friday. Me and him went out to dinner to celebrate. After dinner, I went back to my university since I live on campus. The next evening, I was on Instagram, and I clicked on one of our mutual friends' private story, and I saw Matt and a bunch of his friends hitting and stomping on a piñata. By clicking through more of the stories, I figured it must have been a surprise party for Matt, since he had told me his only birthday plans were dinner with me. On the last slide of the Instagram story, I got a close-up of the piñata, and it looked exactly like me. From the hair color to the skin color, even down to my septum piercing. There was no doubt that it was me. I was really confused, and I screen recorded the stories, then I messaged the friend who posted the story. I asked her if that piñata was me, and she left me on red and removed me from the close friend story. This just confirmed my suspicions. The next day I texted him and asked how his party went, and he acted confused and said he had never had a party. I was confused as to why he was lying to me. I told him I saw it on mutual friend's private story, and he completely stopped answering. An hour later, he answered and said, yeah, the guys threw me a surprise birthday party. It's frat tradition not to talk about it, though. Yeah, guys, that sounds completely made up. That's when I asked him about the me-shaped piñata, and I sent him the video of him and his friends destroying it. He told me that it wasn't me, it was just a random piñata the guys had found. I told him to stop lying to me and that it was obviously me. I told him how hurt I was that he would allow his friends to do something like that, and all he could answer was that they would kick him out of the frat if he didn't accept it. I also brought up how if his frat had thrown him a surprise party, why wasn't I invited? I was only like 45 minutes away. I knew it wasn't because it was only guys, because the mutual friend who posted on the story was a girl who goes to his university. And I saw in the story there were multiple girls there. He stopped answering me and hasn't since. It's been a day with no contact. I'm honestly considering breaking up with him over this. I've caught him in lies before, but this is just too much. The video of him and his friends stomping the piñata was just so disturbing, and to find out that my face was on it, we were planning on moving in together after graduation, but honestly, I don't know anymore. Would I be the asshole if I broke up with him over this? Ooh, girl, is that even a question? Alright, let's start with the first bad thing. He's lied to you before. So okay, your guy's a liar. He was stomping on a piñata that looked like you. That I'm imagining it had the OP's face on it or something. Yeah, no, that's kind of a problem. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say there's not a positive future to staying in this relationship. Would you guys stay with him? Let me know in the comments. I really hope you wouldn't. Okay, here is the update 4 days later. Hi everyone, thank you for all the comments and messages. I've read each and every one of them and I'm truly grateful for all the advice. So Matt texted me back after a full day of incognito. He finally admitted that, yes, the piñata was supposed to be me. He said it was just a joke and it was meant to be funny. I told him how disrespectful and disturbing that was. I ended up breaking up with him and told him I wasn't going to stay with a man-child who was going to disrespect me for the fun of him and his friends. He completely lost it and begged me to stay. He was apologizing and saying he didn't want to lose me and blah blah blah. After I made it clear I wasn't going to take him back, he literally sent me a video of him making out with said mutual friend. I don't know what the point of that was, maybe just a final FU, but I honestly couldn't care at that point. I now realized how immature he was. I just blocked him. So yes, most of you were right, he was cheating on me. I'm thankful that I didn't move in with this jerk, and I saw him for what he really is. An immature man-child. And yes, I will be sending the video to the university, though I doubt they'll do anything. But yeah, this is the update, and thanks again for all the support and kind words. They truly mean so much. Okay guys, moral of the story. If you're dating a Matt, kick him to the curb. Matt ain't worth it. So yeah, we have another 11 out of 10 here. If anybody ever makes a me-shaped piñata, I'm calling the police. I'm calling the FBI. The next one's from r/legal advice from user mental estimate 2462. Can I throw my house guest out 2 weeks into a planned 6-week stay? Location, Westchester County, New York. I agreed to let a friend of a friend stay with me for 6 weeks while he's in town for a work-related course. He's been nothing but inconsiderate and entitled since he got here, but our mutual friend is important to me, so I decided to stick it out. That went out the window this morning when he informed me that his mother and aunt will be flying in on Friday to visit New York City and will be spending the week staying in my living room. He basically had a full-blown temper tantrum when I told him that this wasn't happening, and I'm officially done with it. The bright side is that I only had a spare key to my doorknob lock, so I just planned to leave the deadbolt unlocked while he was staying here. In a perfect world, I'd just lock the deadbolt, tell him he's going to have to find other accommodations, and arrange for him to come pick his stuff up. I know New York has very tenant-friendly laws, but I guess my hope is that this hasn't become a tenancy situation. He's only been here for 10 days, has an apartment back in Indiana, and I've got emails and texts with him and our mutual friend that include discussions about the duration and context of his stay. I'm hoping all of that will work in my favor, but I really have no idea what to expect if he tries to push back. So yeah, can I lock this guy out, tell him to fuck off, or would that end terribly for me? Thanks. Edit to mention it's his mother and his aunt. I was typing faster than I was thinking when I posted this. I'm going to spare you guys all the legal jargon comments from this post and just tell you that he's safe to kick the guy out because it's been less than 30 consecutive days. Here's an update 3 days later. Location, still New York. My guest is gone and has returned my keys as of last night. I doubt he was able to make copies, but I'll be keeping the deadbolt locked just in case. There was a pretty embarrassing meltdown, but he made no effort to claim that he had a right to stay or anything. Unfortunately, there will be some social and familial consequences, as the guy I was referring to as our mutual friend is actually a mutual cousin, though the now former guest and I aren't actually related. That didn't seem very relevant to my issue, and I was trying to be concise, but it's going to be a thorn in my side going forward. I don't have any regrets, though. I'm not interested in dealing with that kind of disrespect in my own apartment. Anyway, I appreciate everyone who let me know that I was good to just tell him to find new arrangements. Yeah, your house reflects your peace. If someone comes into your safe space and, honestly, is an asshole, kick them to the street. Also, I didn't know New York had laws against kicking people out of your house. That's wild. We'll give it a 7.9 out of 10 because, come on, boundaries. The next one is from r/2 hot takes from user moneydonut7375. Mother-in-law invited people we don't know to our wedding. She won't uninvite them because that's embarrassing. Sorry for the length, but I wanted to make sure people have enough information. My fiance and I, male, female, both mid-20s, got engaged January 2025 and plan of getting married spring 2026. Very soon. Wedding planning has been a nightmare. It seems like everyone has an expectation for how the wedding planning is supposed to be. For context, I'm paying for 75% of the wedding and the parents are covering the remaining 25%. Although they like to act like they're paying for everything. I was able to call out my parents for their behavior and draw boundaries. But with his parents, particularly mother-in-law, they've been very difficult. Even the small stuff. Some examples. Fiance and I toured venues alone. His parents were very upset they didn't get to see the venue beforehand. Like, really upset. I ended scheduling a second tour so both our parents can see it. Simple fix. I mentioned how I wanted to do wax seals on our invites and had already bought the supplies, but mother-in-law was adamant I use different supplies and do the seals how she liked them. I talked about the tentative timeline. The wedding will run from 3:30 to 9:30 p.m. Everyone has to be off the property by 10 p.m. because of noise ordinances. It's outdoors. Mother-in-law was disappointed. Apparently 6 hours was just not enough time. Mother-in-law bought my fiancé lotion, body wash, and a candle from Bath & Body Works. It's part of a wedding collection they had. She requires my fiancé to use the products the day of the wedding. It will be a moment, she said. The biggest fight so far. The church. We were both raised Catholic and chose not to get married in the church. My family doesn't care. Lots of us have moved away from the faith anyways. His family, tears, pleading, begging. Please pray about it. God will still love you, but wouldn't it be great to have God's blessing? My brother, who is a Pentecostal pastor, will be officiating. Now on to the guest list. We both come from large families. That would put us at a guest list of 100 people for just the core group. Parents, siblings, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, and in friends and selective plus ones, we'd get to around 150 people. That's plenty of people. My parents asked if they could invite some of their friends. Nope, not happening. We are full. They were a little mad, but didn't push the subject further. But then there's his parents. Unbeknownst to my fiancé or me, mother-in-law forwarded our save the date to several members of her extended family that we do not know. We only found out this past November. She asked to see the guest list during Thanksgiving to make sure everyone that needs to be invited is invited. Immediate red flag. We told her who was invited, and then she began listing names we never heard of. We were confused and said they're not invited. She's visibly upset and starts arguing with fiancé. Says that these are the most important people to her and she already invited them. He tells her it's not her place to invite people to our wedding. I stay out of it, but my face speaks for me. They go back and forth for a while, but it got nowhere. I signaled to my fiancé to let it go and we can talk about it later. We left the conversation telling mother-in-law we'll talk about it after Thanksgiving. Well, we never talked about it. Fiance tried to make a game plan with his dad, thinking if he can be on our side, it would make talking to his mom much easier. But they're both non confrontational and wanted to ignore this entire situation. I guess mother in law was crying to father in law about the guest list for a while. It was eating her alive. Father in law got annoyed and fed up, texted fiance to invite the additional people. Fiance said no, but they won't let it go. I let fiance know he should continue to handle it since it's his parents. But the second his parents involve me, I'll handle it. He doesn't want that to happen. 3 days ago, it happened. She involved me. Mother-in-law texted fiance and me in a group chat. Starts off strong. I've thought about the people in my life that really matter to me that I would like to be invited to your wedding. To put it short, she pulls the dead parents card. Dad passed when she was 11 and mom when she was in her mid-20s. And talks about how these people are parts of her parents. Claims they've been at every big family event. I haven't met these people in the past 7 years we've been together, and my fiance says he's only met them a couple times. She even said not everyone invited is going to make it, so there should be room to invite additional people. She's already invited them, and they're very excited. She even sent them the hotel block information 7 to 8 weeks after we initially told her they weren't invited. It would be really embarrassing for her to uninvite them after all that. She's praying we allow them at our wedding. His parents did offer to cover the additional costs. We since haven't responded. Here's my perspective. It's not about money. It's about respect. We've spent months now telling his parents how it's going to be, but they won't respect what we say. They worry more about how they feel. Mother-in-law is upset the wedding isn't how she pictured, and father-in-law just wants her to be quiet. I empathize with the mother-in-law's situation in losing her parents all those years ago. I lost my mom 4 years ago, and then my brother less than 2 years later. It sucks that there are people who can't be there, and it's out of our control, but that doesn't mean she can require certain people to be invited. She might be the mother of the groom, but she is a guest. Guests can't control how the wedding will be. She's already crossed so many boundaries, and it's not my responsibility to fix the mistakes she made. I told my fiancé, since it's his family, he makes the decision and I'll support him. He said he wants to give in just to make it all stop, but that sets the wrong precedent. He doesn't want these people there. He's not close enough with them, and if they really were that important, they would have been around more. He also doesn't want to start a marriage by ignoring my feelings and just doing what his mom says. He's torn and hurting. I've offered to be the one to respond as I promised so I can take the heat, but he doesn't want to ruin the little chance I have at building a relationship with his mom. With that, how would you respond? We agreed any response needs to be in writing since most of our conversations have been verbal and misconstrued. Having it in writing makes it clearer. Should I mention that second venue tour I scheduled with the parents is in 3 days? Thanks in advance for whatever advice you give. Okay, I feel like the way that these people, the OP and her fiance, are talking to each other is great. They're going to have a great marriage. But this mother-in-law is a monster-in-law, and I feel like you got to put her in her place right now, because if you don't now, it's going to carry on into your marriage. Let me know, if any of you guys are married and you've had a mother-in-law like this, how did you deal with them? Anyways, here's some of the comments. You should only allow mother-in-law to invite her people if your folks can also do the same. But honestly, do you really want people who you don't even know at your wedding? I caved to my mother-in-law for my wedding, and I still regret it. I've been married for 30 years, by the way. Then the OP responds, funny enough, she says the same thing about her wedding, complains about how many friends and additional family each of their parents invited. She said it was overwhelming. When we say this is exactly the same as what she experienced, she backtracks. Next comment. I don't understand why brides allow anyone to dictate their wedding choices. For the love of Zeus, learn to say the word no and mean it. Use the wax seal if you want it. Tell her she will uninvite her unapproved guests or they'll be turned away at the door by the security you are hiring. And then do just that. You are getting married, so presumably you are adults. Start acting like it. Damn, that's a little harsh. But true. The problem is, they don't understand the meaning of no. It's not in their dictionary. We've said it multiple times, but it just doesn't click. Wax seals? Yeah, I appeased her for the time, and then went home and made the invites how I wanted them. The candle lotion stuff? We've already burnt the candle. Nice scent. We'll just happen to forget the other things at home the day of the wedding. Oops. The church venue issues? Well, I already paid the venue, so can't change it now. The guest list thing is just something less out of our control in terms of how the response will be. I don't have the contact information of the people she invited, so it's not like I can tell them myself. What if these people show up even after confirming several times they weren't invited? Then it turns into this huge dramatic moment that was avoidable if his parents knew what no meant. We just want to avoid a massive family blow up at the wedding. Yo, I'm not gonna lie. At this point, I'm uninviting the in-laws. Like, if you're gonna make my wedding that stressful, you just can't go. Like, there's no need for all that negativity and confusion just because your in-laws are stupid. Anyways, let's go with the update 2.5 months later after they got married. Hi everyone, it's been a few months and I figured I could provide a bit of an update. The biggest update is, we got married. It was such an amazing day and went just as we had planned. We're still in awe of how perfect it was for us. We don't regret a thing, except our DJ, but that's a story for another time. In regards to dealing with mother-in-law and her guest list requests, the day after my initial post, my now husband sent a short text to both of his parents saying her extended family wasn't invited, and we were done having the conversation. Added in that we were disappointed with their behavior and that they've caused unnecessary stress. The response was interesting. Mother-in-law just responded saying she invited these people because we said it was okay in prior conversations. That never happened, and she has always been supportive of the wedding. That was never a concern, but now it is. There were no apologies, but we weren't expecting any. She also never said she would uninvite her guests, but we can confirm they did not come to the wedding. His dad even made a comment about how selective the guest list was in his speech. Tried to make it sound like everyone there should feel special they got an invite. Such a classy guy. I feel like that's kind of backhanded, no? Anyways, here's the end. Thank you to everyone who provided meaningful advice. Life has been really peaceful since the wedding, and we're loving it. For those currently planning a wedding, take your time, enjoy the good moments, and do it your way. If you're worried about something going wrong, my mantra was, screw it. Let me tell you, it helped a lot. Yeah, it's honestly a great thing that the OP and the OP's fiance didn't fold here, because the mother-in-law honestly is just probably trying to see how much pull she was going to have in this marriage. It's sad to say it, but there really are just people out there like that. I do feel bad for this OP for being stuck with this monster of a mother-in-law. I stand by what I said originally, where the mother-in-law was trying to see how much pull she was going to have in this relationship, and the OP showed that she wasn't going to stand for it. So, insane mother-in-law gets like a 9 out of 10 for me. All right, the next one is from r/treelaw by user catgut. Neighbor had no idea where the property lines are and cut down my healthy 89-year-old oak because he didn't like trees being near his shed, plus a 2-year update. Upon pointing out the property stakes he missed, showing that it was about 40 feet into my property, he switched to demanding I pay half the $2,000 he spent to have it cut down. Yeah, that stump is 89 inches in circumference, by the way. I'm just glad I looked out into my backyard and was able to intervene before he had them cut down the adjacent oak as well. Got pictures of the stump, the other trees he had cut down at the same time, mostly on his lot, the day laborers in question, the property stakes that were ignored, and photos from both my front yard and his to demonstrate before and after as compared to Google Photos. Filed a police report. Wife wrote down her recollection of the confrontation. Tree lawyer contacted. Wait a minute, hold on guys, there's tree lawyers? If you're a tree lawyer, you're pretty much just the Lorax, right? I am a tree lawyer. I speak for the trees. Okay, let's continue. Working on getting a survey. Found an arborist association that offers consulting. Let the property manager of the next door house know that this guy took out a few trees on their lot as well. I'm a Virginia resident, and it looks like we have triple damages for timber trespass, so I'm being thorough. Let me know if I missed anything. I guess I'm just here to vent. My wife and I are both pretty upset. And here's an update 2 years later that was posted like a week ago. Hi folks, this is a follow-up to my previous post, which unexpectedly blew up on this sub. The TLDR is that in July 2024, a careless neighbor trespassed into my property to cut down a nearly 100-year-old healthy oak. He did this because he felt it threatened his shed, it didn't, and he had no idea where the property lines were and didn't bother to check. Then demanded we split the $2,000 he paid to have it cut down. A lot of people requested follow-up, but I wanted to wait until the situation was fully resolved, which ended up taking a lot longer than I anticipated. My wife and I were both pretty upset about the situation and hit the ground running from day one. We retained a lawyer specializing in tree law who advised we solicit a property survey to confirm the location of the tree. This ended up taking nearly 2 months due to a local shortage of surveyors, and unsurprisingly conclusively demonstrated that the tree was well within the bounds of our property by about 50 feet. While waiting on that, we hired a TPAC certified arborist to examine the stump and photos we provided of the tree pre-cutting. His appraisal was that the tree was healthy at the time of cutting and assessed a replacement value based on trunk formula technique at 11.8K. However, in my state, the replacement value is not considered the basis for damages. Instead, damages for commercially grown trees are 3 times the value of the lumber, while the residential trees that recognize damages are the reduction in property value as a result of the trespass. Our lawyer provided a recommendation for a home appraiser to determine this value. Alright, it would take me a really long time to read the rest of this, and it's surprisingly a lot of tree law, that I didn't know existed. So I'm going to read the TLDR. The neighbor demanded we pay him $1K for doing it. Neighbor had a lawyer experience instead. Neighbor paid us $7,000. We walked away with a bit over $2K after expenses. Geez, well, note to self, if you ever want to cut down a tree, make sure you contact a tree lawyer first. I laughed just as much at this story the second time as the first time because I want to talk to a tree lawyer. I want to talk to the Lorax. Another 100 billion out of 10 for the tree lawyer. That's insane. Okay, so this next one's really short, but it's crazy. It's from r/AUS Legal. I'm assuming that's Australia. And the user is Aussie Flipping. I'm posting this on behalf of a close friend, and he's found himself in a bit of a pickle. In 1998, a police car was borrowed after a night of overindulgence. This car has been kept hidden on a rural NSW property since then in an old barn. Fast forward to today, and the property has been sold, and they need to vacate the property. Is it possible to return this car without consequences, or is this a case of having to dig a very large hole? And then here's the comments. Everyone commenting on this post, they have to be criminals. They have to be. 3 options. Come clean. Blame it on a dead friend. Double down, move car to new property, and deal with the same issue in the future. I do feel like blame it on a dead friend is a good option. Okay, here's another comment. Put on gloves, drive it to the road. Leave it on the side of the road with the keys in the ignition. Jump in your mate's car and don't look back. I gotta say, I agree with this comment. Dig a hole and bury it. And the OP responded, that's going to be the most likely outcome. Was just hoping after 27 years there was a legal way to return this piece of history. Here's the update 6 days later. After reading these comments, we thought it was best to consult a lawyer. Given the seriousness of the crime and a not-so-great criminal history, the car has been moved to a new home in an unused private garage. My mate will update his will as soon as practical and bequeath the car to the NSW Historical Police Museum upon his passing. He realizes he can't bequeath a stolen item, but the legal advice we have is the police will probably honor this bequeathment regardless. Thank you for the amazing response to this post, and have a great new year, everyone. This is a good way to go about it, but what if this person's house randomly is a part of a crime, or for some reason it gets searched by police and they're like, oh wow, this cop car that went missing like almost 30 years ago. Out of all of the stories in this video, this one had to be the best one to end it on, because how many other people are in this situation where, they're hiding a cop car for majority of their life? Bravo. 1 billion out of 10. Anyways, if you made it all the way to the end of this video and listened to me for about 3 hours, comment, I am the lawyer of the trees. If you like this super extra long form content, don't forget to drop a sub, like the video. I'm going to be posting on this channel from now on. I'm going to say every other day. I'm going to shoot for every other day. With all that said, I'll see you next time. Peace.